What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico. It's Rico and Bot on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Friday night, powered by BetUS. Good to have you in as we enter into Week 10 of the NFL season. These Bills heading to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on Uncle Flacco and company. Bills put their 7-2 record on the line against the Colts team, fighting to stay alive for a playoff spot. Rico, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm excited for it.
What's up, folks? It is going to be exciting. I hope my audio is just coming through perfect.
Sounds good to
What's
me.
up, everybody? What's happening? We are back at it. Week 10 is among us.
Can you believe that?
I can believe it because, I mean, at one point I was like, man, at the beginning of the season, it felt like the season was going by fast. I feel like we're right where we're supposed to be at this point in the juncture of the season. But a few weeks from now, we're like, holy crap. We're ready to roll into playoffs. That's when it's going to feel somewhat surreal. But right now, it feels all right. I think we're right where we're supposed to be. Bills are sitting at 7-2, a healthy 7-2. I know some folks are still, non-Bills fans are still sitting here with this whole notion of who have the Bills played. And I think that gets a little old at some point. And we all know that at any given point, any team can win. I mean, listen, you go and look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a very good team. However, they just haven't had the greatest fortune. Week 1, they lose to the freaking Patriots. And the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the game, right? So it's just one of those things about this NFL game where it's literally any given Sunday, man. You just got to bring your best. And right now, the Bills are somewhat limping into this game versus the Colts. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable. And our quarterback is at his best when he has help around him. And it was a great example of help around your quarterback just by looking at last night's game with the Ravens and the Bengals, right? Rashad Bateman was the main man for our guy Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers a little quiet, but listen, Lamar had 290 yards passing last night with 4 touchdown passes, for crying out loud. And it didn't come early. It came late. They just went out on an onslaught at the end of it. Then you look at the Bengals matchup, and it was the Jamar Chase show. No T. Higgins. Gesicki was a little quiet himself, right? So it's one of those situations where it's like you need your weapons, because if you don't, it's a problem. So now the Bills going into this game against the Colts is a significant challenge. And this is where we are either going to see major struggle from the Bills offensively, or somebody steps up. Maybe that's Khalil Shakir. Could this be the Khalil Shakir game? And when I'm not saying 1 touchdown, 85 yards. No, I'm talking about a big game from Khalil Shakir. I'm talking about 150 yards receiving. You know what I'm saying? A touchdown and like 11 receptions. Is it going to be that type of game for Khalil Shakir? Does he break out and become the bona fide guy for Josh Allen? Or it's a everyone eats and everyone tries to contribute, but that's not the way it works in this game. We've tried that. That's why we went and traded out for Amari Cooper. Real question is Amari Cooper even playing? We know Keon's out. Is Amari in? Did he have a cast on? Is his wrist broken? Like, what's going on, man? He says he's great. He's grateful for the opportunity and he's excited. Are you excited to come in and play this game? Or are you just excited to be on a team that's winning? Which is it? Because we need the wins. And up against the Colts, a division, and listen, and conference foe, we need these wins, man. And Snook has a point. Knox and Kincaid will step up. No. They have to step up if that's the case. They absolutely have to step up. So we'll see how it is. Salute to my guy, Cody Benz. I see what you're doing, bro. Salute to y'all. I mean, by the way, I gotta say something. You guys notice something? I got rid of.
It's looking clean. It's looking real clean.
Wifey said, "Knock it off." Is what she said.
Enough?
She said, "Knock it off. You've been growing that since COVID. Knock it off." I said, but, and I was like, all right, it's time. So we said peace. So we're back to clean shave, Rico, and we back at it. But yeah, man, Josh needs his weapons. And are the weapons that he has at the receiver position going to be enough? Z-Bot, talk to me. Is it enough? Does Josh have enough at the receiver position?
Well, you mentioned Khalil Shakir. It could be a big game. What do you think currently right now the over-under is for Khalil Shakir's yardage on Sunday right now on BetUS?
Something stupid. 78 yards.
I don't know, man. This seems like something I'm going to have to get in on right here. Right now on BetUS, Khalil Shakir's over-under is 52 and a half. 52 and a half yards. It feels like going into Sunday as it stands right now. We already know, confirmed today by Sean McDermott, there's no Keon Coleman for these Bills on Sunday. I guarantee you, Amari Cooper is not playing on Sunday. I would be stunned if he plays on Sunday. It's going to be Khalil Shakir. It's going to be Dalton Kincaid. And it's going to be Mac Hollins. If anybody's going to be able to step up, it's Khalil Shakir. This 52 and a half, I feel like he might get this out of just, I don't even know what the right way to put it, out of principle. I don't know how he doesn't get the 52 and a half because I don't know who else is eating into the target share. So I absolutely love that 52 and a half. I'm just seeing that for the first time. I'm going to get in on that, by the way, on BetUS. The promo code's YouTube150, 150% sign up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. I'm going to get in on that. I don't know why the number is the way it is, but the topic of conversation right now is the wide receiver position for these Bills going into Sunday. I would not have guessed that last week Amari Cooper was going to miss the game against the Dolphins. It didn't seem like it was something that was talked about widely throughout the week going into the game. It wasn't a concern of mine until all of a sudden it was. And now it's become a growing concern where you didn't think he was going to miss that game. Now it's looking very likely like he's not going to play in this game. He didn't catch balls from Allen in practice. He does have a cast on. And that's obviously a concern. We saw what the offense looked like in the brief period in which Amari Cooper was out there. Then we saw what it looked like in the brief period in which he wasn't out there against the Miami Dolphins. In a short 3-week sample size, you saw the difference between Amari Cooper out on the field, what this offense looks like with him, and then what this offense looks like without him. Now you factor in no Keon Coleman. Sean McDermott asked today if he needs to go on IR, and it wasn't a guaranteed no or a yes. I'm starting to feel like Keon Coleman, we won't see him again until San Fran on December 1st after the bye. And I don't know what's going on with Amari Cooper. I have a feeling we see him prior to that, but who knows? This is going to be an ultimate test. And in a game where I think you're playing an opponent that's coming off a loss in which they look terrible in, you're probably going to get their best crack. They don't have any more losses to afford, really. I mean, they can lose a couple more here, maybe down the stretch, just based on how bad the bottom of the AFC is right now. 6 teams at 2-7, which is wild. So one of these teams, 2 of these teams, has to back their way into the playoffs. The Colts are in one of the better positions to do that right now, but not if they continue to stack losses. And they look terrible against the Minnesota Vikings this past weekend. So this is a very, very interesting spot. We thought it was weak for Josh Allen going into the year in terms of weapons. It's as weak as it's going to be all year long, more than likely, going into Sunday. So it's got to be a James Cook day. It's got to be a Khalil Shakir day. You know, last week, I went over this on the show Monday. We broke down every one of the targets. I could not believe that Dalton Kincaid had 10 targets against the Dolphins. He only had 4 catches, so I wouldn't have assumed he had 10 targets. If you go back and look at all the targets, though, Rico, something went haywire on nearly every one of them. Either a pass got batted down at the line, Allen got blitzed immediately off the snap.
In the turf,
yeah, they're trying here. Maybe this is the game where you go back to that same amount of target share, but he winds up getting the ball as opposed to something happening beforehand. But something's got to give for sure for these Bills offensively on Sunday. We're talking about a team now that's rattling off 30 points at will. Not going to be easy this upcoming Sunday, and I don't know how to feel about it right now because these injuries. They've kind of come out of nowhere. And the weird thing about them, Rico, is they've been so inconspicuous about it. We don't really know what's going on. We don't know how the extent of Coleman's injury. We don't know the extent of Cooper's injury. You're just kind of sitting around waiting, and all of a sudden, game goes by, Cooper's not playing.
right?
Week goes by. We don't know what's going on with Coleman. Now he's not going to play. Now we don't know how long it's going to be. So interesting spot right now against a team that I think is better than people think they are right now based on how they played the Vikings this past weekend.
Well, right now you're facing a team that is below 500. You're the 4-5 Colts. But the big thing is they're 3-1 at home, so they play well at home. And for the Bills right now, we're 3-2 away, so that plays a factor. How will we come in and assert ourselves on the road at Lucas Oil? Do we still call it Lucas Oil? Lucas Oil Stadium. How will we survive in the horseshoe? That's what we have to figure out. That's number one. Number two, Vegas sees this as a win for the Bills, but it's not gonna be a blowout, right? Right now, Vegas is seeing the lines right now. The spread is at -4. Could it change? It might. And right now the over under the total is 46.5. So it's an interesting game. This is an interesting matchup because although we're banged up at the receiver position, so are the Colts, right?
Correct.
Banged up at the receiver position. Michael Pittman Jr. is officially ruled out, so he will not be playing. So they're down there, one of their alpha receiver. We're going to find out if rookie receiver Adonai Mitchell all of a sudden steps up, has had a very quiet year. Joe Flacco looked very pedestrian last week, but that was against a very good Vikings defense. Brian Flores has been wreaking havoc on a lot of the quarterbacks this year. So this is where we find out what this defense is going to be made of, but this is not what this is about. At the end of the day, it's about putting points on the board. And if we don't put enough points on the board, I'm not saying that we have problems doing because we don't, but we also have a different lineup going into this game. The run game, secure. O-line, secure. But right now, you're going to be going at, let's just say, Amari Cooper's out, Keon Coleman out. So who are your wide receivers? It's going to be Mac Hollins and Jalen Virgil and Khalil in the slot with Kincaid. Not the lineup you expected to go up against the Colts. And this is an opportunity for us. Luckily, we're 3.5, 4 games ahead in the AFC East.
You'd have to bet 10 grand right now to win 100 on the Bills to win the AFC East.
So there you go. And in this game too is going into this game, and you're watching. It's a silly question, but can we afford to lose a game? I don't want to, but in the AFC East, we could. If this is one of those games where we look awful and we're sluggish, and Allen just can't seem to have chemistry with any of the guys on the roster, other than obviously Khalil Shakir. I mean, you'd hate to see it. You don't want to lose to the Colts, but at the same time, man, like you got to make your quarterback comfortable. Yes, he's franchise. Yes, he's elite, but you saw what Jamar Chase was able to do yesterday, right? If Jamar Chase is not there, Burrow's not doing that. You're out with T. Higgins. T. Higgins was gone. You had Jamar Chase. You have these boys, no interceptions yesterday. They combined for like 9 touchdown passes or something, 8 touchdown passes.
Yeah, we got to talk about that game in length later, by the way, and we will chat because that was one of the greatest games I've seen. We will get to that game because that game was absolutely nuts. But to your point there, I think that currently this game, it's all going to be predicated on the run. I think.
Oh, buddy,
this is the game to me where. Your question, by the way, to go back to your question, like, can the Bills afford to lose a game? I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not kidding when I tell you, I think the Bills could lose every single game remaining on their schedule, but the 2 Patriots games and still win the AFC East. I don't think any one of those other teams are getting to 9 wins. They've already sweep the Dolphins, and that includes a loss to the Jets if they want to bake that in there. I'm not kidding you. The Bills could lose every single game remaining, but the 2 Patriots games, and still win the East. So could they afford a loss? Yeah, they can afford several losses. There's probably not a team in the league who can afford a loss as much as the Bills can, other than the Chiefs, of course. They have as much of a lead on the 1 seed right now, essentially, as the Bills do on their own division, which is insane. But they can afford it. The question is, the way I see it, it's not about going in there affording a win or a loss. It's the ability to stop certain things that are going to wind up being what they're going to have to face in these playoffs.
Okay.
And what we saw from Minnesota against this Indianapolis team, and the reason why they were so successful defensively, the reason why they didn't score a single offensive touchdown the whole game, the Colts, is because they were able to stop Jonathan Taylor. But the Vikings have a top 10 rush defense in this league. The Bills do not. And that's going to be the difference here. You noticed last night, even though, ironically enough, the Bengals, their run D ranks worse than the Bills, they did not allow Derrick Henry to impact that game. And if it wasn't for Chase Brown fumbling that ball, I think the Bengals win the game going away.
Tough.
They never allowed the Ravens to run it. And the Ravens, that's why they had 7 points at half. They had 7 points with 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. When you get a lead on a team like the Ravens, and you don't allow them to run the ball as easily as they would like to, and they typically do that when they have the lead and they're able to dictate the flow of the game, it's tough for them. This is going to be a similar situation, just not as talented against Indianapolis. If the Bills get the lead early, I'd much rather have a game where Joe Flacco has 50 attempts. But if this is a game kind of similar to the Titans, for instance, where they come out slow, right. Titans, tic-tac-toe down the field, they get a lead, it'll be tougher to come back from that, I think, against this Colts team than it will against a team like the Titans or some of the more inferior opponents that they've played. The key to me in this one, Rico, they're not going to stop Jonathan Taylor. If you go look at his numbers, he's been hovering around 100 yards in almost every game he played this year outside of that Minnesota game this past week, who has one of the better defenses in terms of stopping the run in the league. They're not going to stop him. But I kind of want to see something like I saw from Cincinnati last night. They haven't been stopping anybody in the run game all year either defensively. Can you mitigate it? Because I just feel like right now we have got to get a sign of life from this run defense for me to have the fullest confidence heading into the playoffs, because every time they're going up against an offense that has some sort of competent running game, the Bills do not have an answer for it at this current time.
I hate to say it, there's a bit of both. There's a bit of truth in both, because it all depends on who you're playing, right? And this last game against the Dolphins, I mean, let's keep it real. We know what Jalen Waddle can do. We know what Tyreek Hill can do. You give them an inch, you give them a crease, they can blow the game open with a big time play. We wanted to avoid that. We absolutely want to avoid that. So if you're going to avoid that, you're going to have to give something up. And the Bills decided to give up in the run. If you're going to do what you do, and I'm going to trust my offense because I know they're going to put points on the board, I can afford for you to run the football, kill clock, and I know my defense is good enough to make a play here and there. And that's exactly what happened. Taron Johnson made a play, and that's what got us to obviously squeak out that win against the Dolphins, and where we are right now. So every matchup is different. We know Joe Flacco isn't the young, spry Joe Flacco. No disrespect to him, but he's not. So the focus, in my opinion, is going to be stopping the run. So Joe Flacco is going to have to use, I think, Josh Downs. He is going to have to throw the football to Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce. Those are going to be your guys. So they're going to have to beat me, which I'm best at. I think we're ranked top 10, 6 in the league. So your passing offense is going to have to be my number 6 passing defense. So can you sustain? Can you actually do well enough? So this is where the Bills defense comes in. Is we got to stop the run. So primarily, stopping the run is going to be our primary focus in this game. Last game was not getting beat over top. We didn't want to have that happen, and it didn't. So we had to suffer a little bit in the run game. Defensively, this game, bro, it's all about JT. Don't let them get going. Don't let JT get going. He's averaging right now, 80 yards a game rushing, 83 yards a game rushing. He's got 500 yards rushing total, and he's rushing for almost 5 yards a pop. All right. Has he had the year that he's needed to have? Probably not. But he's no slouch either. He's probably in the top 10 in rushing. But we got to stop. We got to slow him down, right? And we saw what we did by bringing in 2 former Bills players. I don't know how much they're going to help in the run game, but Jordan Phillips returns to the Bills. I need to get your opinion on that. And our guy, Quentin Jefferson, returns to the Bills. So there's going to be a focus in stopping the run. The question is there anybody that scares you offensively at the receiver room for the Indianapolis Colts? And it's not nothing that we can't handle. If I hope Bernard does return, he should be able to return. It's not Bernard, excuse me. Benford. We got Rasul Douglas. And I think we should be okay going into this game. It's about stopping the run for me. And I think we'll do a decent job doing that. It's just about making sure our pass defense is where it's supposed to be. And I think it should be all right.
I'm not concerned about the pass defense at all. I never am. Going into any game, I'm never concerned about the pass defense. It's been one of the best in the league, and it has been for some time. I'm seeing some craziness in the chat right now trying to defend this Bills run D.
Defending the Bills run D. Okay.
So I mean, like Bills fan, 7883, he's talking about EPA. He's talking about strength of schedule. Just go back and rewatch a couple of the games. Stats be damned. Anything that these teams want in the middle of the field in terms of the short passing game and the run game right now, they can have it. Rico made a good point, and it's the right point in terms of wanting to mitigate Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's impact on the game. Nobody in the league has done a better job of doing that than Sean McDermott. Nobody. They have completely eliminated Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's impact on this team nearly every single time that they play him. But Rico, wouldn't it have gotten to a point in that game where they said Devon Achane is having a career day against us? We might need to make a switch here. The fact of the matter is, I don't think that they're capable of doing it. And I think the reason why a lot of people say the Ravens game has the run defense for the Bills skewed, right? It's got it skewed towards not being as bad as it really is. Well, I would also argue that the skew in terms of maybe being better than it is, maybe better than it would be, the Bills have blown out the vast majority of teams they've played this year, not allowing teams to just get the run established.
Mm-hmm.
So these are games where the teams that would like to run the ball, like Arizona, right? Like Tennessee, teams that would prefer to run the ball against this defense, you can't when either the games, like for instance, in the second half with Arizona, they bailed on the run because the Bills were just going on a heater offensively. In Tennessee, the Bills were on a heater offensively. Jacksonville, same type of situation, right? There were so many times throughout the year here where the Bills were just dominant on offense that teams had to air the ball out in order to be able to keep up the pace. So when you're looking at the numbers here, I understand that you can find a number to argue against one thing or the other, depending on what side of the fence you're on. I get that. But if you're looking at a team like, for instance, the New York Jets on that Monday Night Football game, they had the worst rush offense in the NFL going into that game. Breece Hall ran all over these Bills, right? You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle this past game. Tyreek Hill didn't have, or Jalen Waddle didn't have a catch until nearly the fourth quarter. Tyreek Hill had 15 yards going into half? They did their job getting rid of those guys. But the cost was allowing Devon Achane to completely move them down the field. The Dolphins had their longest drive they've had their longest drive in 6 years against these Bills, starting at the 3-yard line, 97-yard drive. Longest drive for them in 6 years. And that was without having to do what the Dolphins love to do best, and that's get that cheap shot pass to either Hill or Waddle and gain 40 yards on it. They just nickeled and dimed down the field, either running the ball or short passing it. I look at this game, Jonathan Taylor, in terms of the teams the Bills have played and who they have at the running back position. This is one of the better running backs that they're going to face. And it's against a team that I think is willing to go with the run if it's working, especially when you got Michael Pittman Jr. injured too. They got a bunch of younger guys at the wide receiver position that they're not necessarily going to want to rely on to win this football game. So to me, I don't know right now how you could watch this Bills defense and the takeaway being, well, the run defense is actually better than we think. There was just one or two games where it was just really bad, and that's skewing the numbers. I think you can look at almost every game, and at some portion of it, go to the moments in the game where the Bills aren't winning by more than a score. Teams are running the ball all over the place. And yes, I factor in the short passing game too, because a lot of times that is teams' alternative to running the football, just like it was for Miami this past week. Devon Achane didn't have a ton of carries in that game, but he had 8 catches. And overall, what did he have? Nearly 200 all-purpose yards on the day. So that's the biggest key in this game to me. You saw it this past week. Minnesota shut down Jonathan Taylor, his ability to run the football. They didn't score a touchdown the entire game, the Colts. They are not going to be able to get a semblance of offense if they can't run it. But the thing of it is against the Bills, I think they will be able to run the football. And that's why I think this game will be closer than maybe other people might think based on the Colts record currently.
And here's something I saw earlier today. There was the conversation about whether Bills defense is actually stopping the run is really that poor, or is it's not as bad as people make it seem. And I think there's good debate that's going out there. And there was a conversation, and I saw Sal's reply, and I don't know if you saw this already, but it was a matter of like, well, the Bills are ranked 22nd in stopping the run, right? That 87-yard run by Derrick Henry has skewed the run defensive metrics and rankings. Had that never happened, let's just say that 87-yard run was an 87-yard pass, this defense would be middle of the pack in stopping the defense. Not horrible, but not great, right? That run, in terms of averages, how many yards we've allowed, number one, how many yards per rush we've allowed, it's skewed it quite a bit. So take away that and turn that into a pass, we're middle of the pack. We're middle of the pack. Put that as a pass, according to Sal Capaccio, we're middle of the pack as well. That one play has really kind of affected the metrics and the rankings of how these Bills are. So really, what I'm trying to say is, are the Bills as bad defending the run as we think by looking at the numbers?
Well, they're middle of the pack right now, though, by the way. They are middle of the pack right now, Rico. They're like dead middle. They're literally like 16th right now overall.
16th? Okay.
They're like right there, yeah.
So, and we'd probably be a little better depending on that, if that's a run as opposed to a pass. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, when push comes to shove and the game plan's put in place and we need to stop someone, we do. When we've needed to stop Derrick Henry, we have. Because when Derrick Henry, we've had some good battles with Derrick Henry, but for the most part, I think that we've always been on the better end of stopping Derrick Henry. If my memory serves me all right. But when push comes to shove, when we need to make a stop and stop the run, we do. So McDermott, I trust McDermott's defensive abilities to concoct a plan and stop the run. Will Jonathan Taylor come out and wreck us for 200 yards rushing? I think if we put the onus on stopping him and saying, if we're going to lose this game, we're going to lose the game by Joe Flacco having to beat us in coverage. And who do you bet on? The real question is, do you bet on the Bills' pass defense? Or do you think that Joe Flacco is going to light up our pass defense if we put the focus on stopping the run? I think that I'm leaning towards McDermott and the ability to game plan to stop the run, and you're going to have to beat my pass defense. And I don't think Joe Flacco is going to be able to do that. So obviously I'm confident that we win this game. This is just going to be not one of those games that people think that it's just going to be Jonathan Taylor running all over us. I don't think our and I'm in the boat of, I don't think our run defense is as porous as we think. And once I started to look into it, because you convinced me. At one point, I was defending it hard body. You're like, what? Have you not seen what we look like? And I had to kind of check us. And I was like, wait a minute. Then when Sal made that point, I was like, well, hold on. Then I started looking at every game, how badly James Conner started off hot and we cooled his ass down. I think he ended the game with 55 yards rushing. Every other game after that, we've held most of the running backs in check, except for obviously Derrick Henry and Devin Achane. For the most part, we've done relatively all right. Now it's just a matter of stopping Jonathan Taylor and doing what we need to do. I think we will. I think we'll do exactly what the game plan will take, is stopping him and allowing or making or forcing, lack of a better word, Joe Flacco to beat us. What is he, 40, 41, 42?
He's 39. He'll be 40 this year.
Yeah, you're going to have to beat us. You're going to have to beat us. Let's see how loud that arm is. And he's good. I'm not saying he's trash, because when he's with the Browns, man, he revived that team. He absolutely revived that team. So I don't want people thinking that I'm saying he's trash. It's just the challenge is going to be put on him. How much can y'all deal with? How much he's going to have to deal against our defense? That's what it's going to come down to, in my opinion.
I think, in fairness to some of the points I'm seeing in the chat, there's variety. There's a variety of skewness, I guess, is the worst way to put it, but a way to put it, because when it comes to this run D, I guess it's not. I'm not sitting here saying like the run defense for the Bills is not the equivalent of the pass defense for the Ravens. Like you saw that last night. That is one of the worst pass defenses I've ever seen. Jamar Chase, I mean, that was insane. Now, of course, that has a lot to do with how great of a player he is. They had two plays where he was just completely wide open down the field for 70-yard bombs. Like, incredible. And this Ravens defense, in terms of stopping the pass, has been one of the worst in the league all year. I'm not saying the Bills, like, you're going to allow 6 yards per carry or whatever. You're going to allow 250 yards rushing. I'm not saying that. What my biggest issue is right now, what I look at is I'm looking at the susceptibilities of this defense and what I see that could be an issue going in to the playoffs. You're watching Kareem Hunt starting to run the football with effectiveness for these Chiefs. You already know what the Ravens can do in the run game. If they see the Steelers, Najee Harris having a comeback year, he's running the ball exceptionally well. These Colts have Jonathan Taylor. He's missed a few games this year, but like I said, he's hovering around 100 yards nearly every game that he plays, right? You're looking at these teams currently in the playoffs. All of them have a pretty good semblance of a run game. Now, the Bills have had their moments this year where it was abysmal, awful, couldn't be worse against the Ravens, but yes, several teams had that. Then you had a game like the Seahawks where you would have anticipated it would have been bad because you would have thought they would have wanted to run the football, and they weren't able to do it. That was one of the worst rushing performances that the Seahawks have had in years. So it's odd because I don't know right now. I guess the best way to put it is you don't really know what you're going to get. It's kind of a mixed bag. And
it's every game plan. Every game plan is different.
But I feel like game plan aside, if you were to point into one thing right now going into January that would have you most concerned, I think to me at least, it would be that. It would be the short passing game and the run game, because I feel like in the playoffs, those are that's the style of offense teams are going to want to run, especially when you're trying to keep Josh Allen off the field in an elimination game, right? So, and to Sarah's point here, the offense is the best defense right now, and that's why maybe the numbers are not as bad as they could be one way or the other. This Bills offense right now averaging nearly 30 points per game. It's hard to get any semblance of a run game going when the offense on the other side is pouring it on. But when you look at the teams that the Bills have played this year, you know, the Texans were missing Joe Mixon in that game, right? The Jaguars, they beat them so bad, they never had the ability to run in that game. I'm looking back at the numbers. Yeah, Travis Etienne had 11 carries in that game, but he still ran for 70 yards. He had nearly 7 yards a carry in that game, but they just couldn't run the ball because the Bills beat them by 37. They had
47-10. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Then you have the Ravens game. We all know what happened there. The Jets game to me was the interesting one because they hadn't been able to run the ball all year. They were able to do it in that game. And then the Tennessee game, there's moments like this is what's odd. There's like some really bad moments. There's some good moments. Then you have like the Tennessee game and the Arizona game where it was really bad for what felt like a quarter. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And I don't know if that's necessarily what the Bills defense did to stop it, or if it was the other side getting into a bit of a panic territory where they're like, oh, we got to switch up how we're playing here because all of a sudden the Bills offense went from not being able to do anything to they're going up and down the field. So I guess the best way to put it right now, Rico, and to everybody in the chat, right? Because I feel like you got some people saying it's abysmal. You got some people saying that the numbers might reflect it's actually better or towards the top. I guess the best way to put it right now, it's about as big of a mixed bag as you could probably find. And the reason why I continue to bring it up is because just a minute ago we mentioned the Bills could probably lose outside of the Patriots games and make these playoffs. Everything I'm thinking about right now is in terms of how is this going to translate in January. And the one thing I keep going back to, and I'm watching it last night, for the entire first half, those Ravens could not run the football. And what happened? They couldn't score a damn point. Then all of a sudden, the momentum flipped entirely on a fumble, and boom, the game switched. But my point is, if you can stop the run, and I'm not even saying stop it. You're not going to stop Derrick Henry. You're not going to stop some of these running backs. It's just not allowing the game to be dictated by the other team's rush game. That's the one thing to me. If the Bills can clean that up, I don't know. There's so much about this team that you absolutely have to love going into the playoffs.
So I'm looking at the statistics for what the Colts have been able to do. I lost my page here. What the Colts have been able to do statistically, defensively. Okay, so points per game allowed defensively, 21 points. All right, so that ranks them at 12th. So they're not a bad defense. They're not a bad defense at all. And you go up against the Vikings. You got Sam Darnold, you got Aaron Jones, you've got Addison, you got Jefferson. That's a pretty damn good high-powered offense, right? And they were pretty close to them. Although Vikings didn't really let them score, I thought it was going to be much of a bigger blowout. But anyway, Points per game allowed, 21.4, which ranks them 12th. Yards per rush defensively, the Colts, 4.6, which ranks them 10th. All right. Let me keep going here. Yards per rush allowed, 15th, 4.4. Yards per attempt, 20th, right? 7 yards a pop. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, right?
Oh, they're allowing 7 yards a rush right now?
Pass, excuse me. 7 yards. So
I was going to say, rush, James Cook, get ready to run that ball like you've never ran it.
Yo, yards per rush allowed, 4.4, which is middle of the pack, 50 at the point right now. Right?
Bills are right around there too, right? Like right around that area.
Yards per pass attempt, 7, which ranks them 20th. Yards per pass attempt allowed, they're ranked 26th. Pressure rate on QB, 23%, right? So there's going to be some advantages for the Bills, which is going to sway the way they have to run their offense, maybe abandon the run sooner, and have to now force them to pass. And that's the trap that the Bills want these guys to do. Obviously, they're going to try to go against that. And their season is on the line as well. If you want to think about it, they're 4-5. They cannot afford to lose any more games. They can't, right? Especially in this AFC. Although the AFC and the NFL has been just a weird.
Dude, if you just go and look at the records right now, it's weird. It's weird. The bottom is terrible.
It's odd, right? Pressure rate allowed on quarterback, they're allowing 23%. So they're pressuring 23%. They're allowing 23%. Third down conversion rate, they're converting on 36% of theirs. Defensive third down conversion rate, 43%, ranked 24th. So red zone success, offensively, they're 53%, they're 20th. And defensive red zone, 57%. They're tied for 17th. So they're a lot of middle of the pack. So nothing that is going to really deter offensively what the Bills are going to do. Offensively for them, the Colts, they're going to have to establish themselves in running the football. You have old man Flacco. You're down your best receiver, Michael Pittman. You're gonna have to throw. You're gonna have to run the football. You're gonna have to. And the shitty part about the Bills have had to face teams that are their backs are against the wall. Ravens were 0-2 when the Bills faced them. Was it week 3 that we faced them? They were 0-2. They had no choice but to really come out and do work. When we faced the Jets really needed to keep their season on the line. They just switched over from their head coach. They really weren't running the ball really well, so they needed to establish themselves on running the football. So we're catching teams in this position that we're catching their best. And it's crazy to say the NFL, you're always going to get your best. But when you really need to when we were at a point where we had 0.1%. Yo, every team was catching the Bills' best. You had Josh Allen locked in like it was playoff time. A lot of these teams are in playoff mode right this second. So we're going to field a lot of the pressure coming off these guys. But I mean, we just got to stand put, know the game plan, and McDermott is going to do a wonderful job. I was listening to the radio today, a satellite radio, and they're talking about head coaches that if there were to be vacant, there were vacancies everywhere. And Mike Tomlin happened to be the coach that we're talking about. Every team would want Mike Tomlin. Every team. I don't care who you are. If there's a vacancy, he'd be their top guy, right? Then I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder if the same thing were said about McDermott, if he would be one of the top guys. He's a brilliant defensive mind. He's always had this defense when push comes to shove and you need to make some stops and you need to make some adjustments. He's been there with limited resources, meaning guys being injured and dealing with whoever. Our favorite quarterback our favorite linebacker that we just called from vacation. He's finally retired. He's eluding my mind right now. AJ Klein.
Yeah.
AJ Klein, for crying out loud. So you're having to deal with that. And it's not giving excuses for McDermott, but when push comes to shove, he needs to make something happen. He does. So I expect the same shit to happen this game against the Colts. He knows what the deal is. He knows what their strengths are. Their strength is in Jonathan Taylor setting up the run and throwing the football. Game would have been changed if it was Anthony Richardson because he's athletic. So if he can't throw the football, he's going to run. Flacco don't run. So in a way, we can switch up the defense in a way to our advantage. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Vegas has us -4. Maybe the line changes. I don't know if it does. So maybe they keep it close. We're not very great on the road. We're 3-2 on the road. So listen, man, we got to come in and whoop ass. That's what it has come down to. It's what it comes down to.
I gotta eat a piece of humble pie here because I'm looking at the numbers. So shout out to Bill 7883. I'm not going back on my stance. I still think, based on what I'm watching in the game, based on what I'm watching in the game, I feel like if I can pinpoint one hole, it would be in and around the line of scrimmage right now on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to getting rid of the ball immediately from the quarterback and running the football. Now, what's odd to me is the numbers. If you go and look at the Bills' passing defense, if you were to ask me what the biggest issue of it all, I think that I've always thought the screen game right now is the biggest liability for this defense, far and away more than the run game. I've felt that all year long. Yes, and here's the thing. The numbers completely reflect that. Right now, the Bills are 26th in the league against the short pass. 26th in the league. So based on my eyes and what I'm seeing, the numbers reflect that. But Bill 7883 was in the comments earlier, so I went and took a look at these advanced stats. I just don't know where these numbers are coming from, but it's the truth. The Bills are a top 10 rush defense in every single category outside of a light box where they're one of the poorer teams in football in that situation. Like I said, I don't think it's abysmal, but I have felt like it's a liability. Do you feel like what you've seen reflects these numbers? Because I got to tell you, and you know me, I like to be, I got to be transparent and honest. And I'm in the middle of talking about this and I'm looking. And obviously, I'm not denouncing what I'm looking at here. It's just, man, based on what I've seen, if you had a gun to my head and I had to guess if the Bills were top 10 in these categories, rush based on the run defense, I would have said hell no.
But
what am I missing?
Look at the games. Look at who we've played. Like Kenneth Walker is one of the better running backs in this game. We absolutely shut him down. He couldn't do anything. And those are the very same people that we're like, oh shit, we're about to play Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's the dog. Bro, he non-existent in that game. So am I surprised by these statistics? Not really. I'm not, because I've seen when we really want to stop the run and put the emphasis on stopping the run.
Wait, you're not surprised about the collectiveness of this rush defense right now? I mean, because if you look at the total numbers, they're middle of the pack, but right here, I mean, they're all the way up there. So I don't know. It just doesn't feel that way to me.
When the emphasis is there, like I said, listen, we play primarily nickel defense. So when they see Taron Johnson out there, bro, we're gonna bring a big, and we're just gonna go hat on hat, and we'll take our chances against your nickel. But when we really want to stack the box and really get in there and get the right personnel in there, we're solid at stopping that run. We're solid. It's just about what we want to give up and what we don't want to give up, and we're not giving up that big play. How often have you seen a big, huge pass behind us? Have we had that this year yet?
This is what's confusing. Well, Nico Collins was the only one, right?
That's the one. Okay, yeah, the one. There you go.
But Rico, so once again, this is where these numbers are really throwing me off. You would think right now the Bills have one of the better deep passing defenses in the league, right? I went and looked at that number.
Right.
And right now the Bills are 23rd in deep passing. So I don't know. These numbers compared on what I'm seeing, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's apples to apples here. Interesting. Would you guess the Bills' pass defense is as low in all these numbers as they are? It feels reversed to me.
All circumstantial, my guy. All circumstantial. It's on who we play every week. I mean, right now you have it against the Colts. You have the comparison versus the Colts right now, right?
But these are these are the comparisons. And as you can see, what I love about this site is it gives you the advantages based on their numbers and the Bills' numbers. I mean, holy hell, if the Bills don't win this game, right? But man, like this is a complete reversal of what I would have expected if I were to get these numbers blind like I did here. Completely reversal.
Listen, okay. So who would you say? I mean, to me, I think where we got really outcoached and beat up, obviously, was the Ravens game. I'm not about to repeat that stuff. But when it comes to stopping a specific person, we've done it. Marvin Harrison Jr., non-existent. He was supposed to be that guy, and we shut him down. He didn't do anything. The one game I can say that took away is obviously Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry just went off. The results were the results. You saw it, right? You go to the Texans game, right? Nico went off and then had his hamstring, right? But we were in this game. That was one of those things where, like, who will go off? It's going to be a Stephon Diggs emotional game. Are they going to feed Stephon? Are they going to go to Nico? What was it? And the score was relatively close along the way. Let me just look up the teams, because I'm looking at the top players that we're supposed to defend and how they did against us. And every top tier player, we've silenced them because we want somebody else to step up and do it. Miami Dolphins, both Waddle and Tyree shut down. A-Chain, go off. We're not letting your main guy do what he's supposed to do to us. So I
but
like
the scary thing about that, though, Rico, to that point.
Yep.
They're a Tyler Bass 61-yard field goal away from that strategy in the ball game, losing the game for them. This is what's odd to me about it. Like, wouldn't you have thought throughout that game, all right, we gotta ease up on trying to take away Hill and Waddle here in pursuit of trying to stop HN. That's where my assumption goes to. They just weren't able to do it because the Dolphins, if that game goes to overtime and they win the toss, they're winning that game based on what they were doing offensively. They were a Tyler Bass 61-yard field goal away from that strategy, losing them the football game. So it's hard for me to sit here and say that was the master plan all along. Maybe in the beginning, but the whole game, because he was doing it the whole game.
Right. And things are going to change in that regard. I mean, obviously, like the game plan changes and adjustments change. But as we were talking, I'm looking at like who we face. Right. Marvin Harrison Jr. non-existent. Dolphins first matchup against Tyreek and Waddle, non-existent. Jaguars, we trounced the Jaguars. They didn't really do anything. 47-10. Ravens, we got smacked. And we got smacked for good reason. You already know who. Derrick Henry matched us. Texans, 23-20. Mismanagement by, obviously, our coach, but at the end of the day, somewhat manageable in that game, right? That one was an off game. Josh Allen was not his best. Let's be honest. He was not his best. So, Jets, back against the wall. We still beat that. And we didn't really let Aaron Rodgers do what he needed to do. It was trying to stop the run. I think Breece Hall went over 100 yards, total yards. But anyway, Titans smacked them. Seahawks, Kenneth Walker smacked them. Didn't do anything. DK gone. Tyler Lockett, you're going to have to beat us. Jackson Smith-Njigba, you're going to have to beat us. Not good enough. And then, obviously, the Dolphins game, we didn't let Tyreek go off. He had one play against Elam, and the rest was like intermediate passes. We didn't let him go deep, what he likes to do. So, for the most part, it's just game by game. Game by game, man. So this game coming up, Michael Pittman out. Who's really the threat at the receiver position that we can't defend? Not anybody crazy. And I don't think Michael Pittman Jr. is that crazy either, but it's going to be stopping the freaking run. So you're going to see a lot of emphasis in stopping the run and watching what Joe Flacco could do in the past. It's not going to freaking happen. I think that we're actually, now that I'm speaking on it, we deter him from putting up less than, we keep him under 75 rushing yards, bro. We have this game. We have it handedly.
It's so similar to the Seahawks game because who were they missing? DK Metcalf. So taking the top off the defense is gone. They could focus in on Kenneth Walker. Gino had a meltdown in that game. This is awfully similar. Michael Pittman gone. The Bills can focus in on the run. I got to be honest. In this one, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get his yards. But I think I learned my lesson from the Seahawks game. I still think stopping the run is key, but I think that the ability to do it in this game, because you're making a great point, the emphasis on an area, and that's why I feel like this Bills team has been the cliche bend but don't break this year.
They are. Because
they bend in pursuit of not breaking on allowing your game-changing guy to change the game. The only time there was a game-changing guy was Derrick Henry. They broke the game completely. You could argue Nico Collins was the game-changing guy. They don't win that game if it wasn't for that touchdown that he had. So those were really the only two moments. But right now, I think the key to this game, and it's going to be the key, I think, to most games. We can talk about the defense all we want in terms of running the football or whatever. And I still think that despite the numbers, that would be the one thing right now that if I'm a playoff team going into Buffalo this week to play the game, that's what I'm going to want to do for a variety of reasons. Obviously, time of possession, if I can do it, if I can keep Josh Allen off the field, if I can do it. And I just think that right now, that's where you're going to be the most efficient if you have a decent running game. But to me, Rico, it's this offense right now. The offense right now, you're not going to lose many games when you're rattling off 30 points the way that they are. And you've noticed that when they do score 30 points, what happens on the other end? The other team doesn't crack 20 for the most part. The reason for that is because these offenses have to completely go away from what they wanted to do in the ball game. They've had to completely go away from what they thought would be most advantageous for them in order to score points. So I'm looking at this one. And this Colts defense, that's where I think the biggest difference is here. Jonathan Taylor might have a day, as I feel like he's the only guy on that offense that right now you look at and you're saying if there's going to be a guy that keeps the Colts in it, it would be him. But where's the Colts defense holding up their end of the bargain for that offense should they be able to get Jonathan Taylor going. Because this Colts defense right now, especially against the pass, just not great. They're bottom barrel in the league, Rico, when they don't blitz. They're bottom barrel in the league on short passes, bottom barrel of the league in the middle of the field. The only thing that they're halfway decent on is deep balls. And what do the Bills never run? They never run deep shots. The Bills' passing game has almost been entirely intermediate and short passes, right? And that's what we've loved about the Joe Brady takeover. It's because that's been working. It's been so efficient for these guys. So to me, I think if there's one thing to pinpoint, it's that we could talk about the defense and what might be the liabilities against these teams that can run the ball or whatever, which I still believe in. This offense, though, if they're going to be able to continue to play with the efficiency that they do, while also factoring in that every one of these games they have taken a quarter off, they have literally just taken a quarter off and still have done what they've done, that to me is the key. And looking at this one, Rico, the defense for the Colts, I just don't know where they're going to have the ability to be able to keep Josh Allen from doing what he's essentially done all year, and that's put up 30-plus points.
Well, here's the deal. The Colts they play a heavy zone. They're a heavy zone. So they're going to attempt to obviously keep things in front, keep their eyes on Josh. And this is where Josh is, and this is the worry I may have in this case. I hate to call it worry, but this is my if things go bad, and this is the reason why. This is a heavy zone team. I think they're their third highest rate. They play hold on a second. Let me just make sure I'm looking at the right stats here. Yeah, so they're very heavy zone defense. So this is where Kincaid, Khalil Shakir is going to be great in the zone. But now you're getting Jalen Virgil, new receiver. Who knows if Amari is in this game or not? Let's assume he's not. So him and Keon are gone. So Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir, Kincaid, Knox. Those are going to be your guys. So you're gonna rely on these guys to find zones, sit in the zones, and be lockstep with Josh. If you're supposed to sit. Don't keep moving because Josh is putting that ball in that spot, in that space. You better be there. So this is where it's going to be very interesting in terms of rhythm, how these guys react to this zone defense that the Colts play a lot of. And they know Josh is dangerous. Keep your eyes on Josh. Don't turn your back to him because he will turn into the guy that you don't want to see rushing all over the place. But I see good things happening in this game. Do I see challenges? Absolutely. This is a game where there's constant adjustments, constant changes, but I like the chances of the Bills having success, putting up 30 points. They can play some defense now. I mean, they kept the Vikings the 21 points of the game that they played against these guys last time. Yeah. So they can play some defense now. Zaire Franklin's no joke. These boys can play. So very much looking forward to seeing how Josh adapts. Josh is a much more elite quarterback than Sam Darnold is, but Sam's having a good year. So this is, I don't know, 30 points. Love to see it, but I think this is going to be a lot closer than people may think. Just like the Dolphins game and the Bills game, close game, division game, conference game, they're pretty close. I'd love it to be a smackdown, but I think it might be close. It might be close based on how they're going to defend Josh and obviously Josh's weapons, which comes down to how we going to do without Keon and Amari Cooper. We just traded for the guy, and now we might be without him again. I hope not.
Here's two stats to back up what you're saying. You're saying that you think Josh Allen can have a decent day against this defense, but you're also saying that this Colts defense has the ability to keep the game close, right?
100%.
Here's a couple of crazy stats to back up both of those points. Right now, the Colts are the fourth team in NFL history to have each of their first 9 games of the season decided by one possession. These Colts have not lost a game by more than one possession this entire year, despite having a losing record. In terms of Josh Allen, the Bills are 7-0 when Josh Allen has had a passer rating above 95 in 2024. Their only 2 losses came when he didn't. The Colts have allowed a 95-plus passer rating, Rico, in 7 of their 9 games this year. So essentially what you can take away from that is if Josh Allen has a decent day, these Bills will win the football game. But the Colts defense, despite not being able to shut down the better quarterbacks in the league, still somehow find a way to keep it within a close margin towards the end of the football game. It's very interesting. But you just saw it right there. The key to this game, Rico, Josh Allen just staying out of his own way. They win the football game.
You know what's crazy to me? And they had Richardson as their quarterback that's completing 44% of his passes.
Mm-hmm.
That's got more interceptions than touchdowns. And they've still been able to keep. That's got to be frustrating for a defense. No wonder coach was like, bro, I got to think of the other 52 guys on the squad. I really do got to think of the other 52 guys on the squad. I can't have this atrocity out there just playing under the, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not playing good football. He's not. And that's why you gotta bench and put Flacco in, because Flacco gives you a better chance. Now, he didn't quite do it last week, so maybe his age is showing, or this was just a bad matchup. But they've been able to do that with Richardson. Imagine competent enough football. Maybe the Colts are much better than we give them credit for.
Don't get it twisted. That was an outlier last week. Joe Flacco, and we looked like idiots. We're like, tune in Sunday Night Football. Joe Flacco can still sling that thing, and he did anything but. It was awesome.
Exactly.
I think that was the outlier, not the norm. Joe Flacco, I promise you, you guys all know it. You saw it last year with Cleveland. You saw it in a few games this year already with Indy outside of last week.
Yep.
He can't air the ball out. The thing of it is, though, right now, you don't have Pittman, and I don't know right now if the Bills defense is going to allow Josh Downs or Xavier Legette to dominate a football game. I just don't see it. And to that point, once again, I just don't know on the other end of the ball. Even if Joe Flacco has a couple of nice plays, I don't know defensively for the Colts if they're going to be able to mitigate Josh Allen enough for what Joe Flacco brings to the table to be enough for them to outduel Josh Allen. It just feels like in this game right now, almost every factor tends to lean Buffalo's way.
It looks good, but like we just can't sleep, because I'm looking at some PFF grades. Listen, I like Taron Johnson. I really do. He impactful player, all pro player, but there are some moments where he's a liability sometimes in coverage. I'm not gonna keep you. It's just what it is. And Josh Downs, slot receiver, is a third highest graded receiver since week 4 right now. He's got a grade of 87.9 at the receiver position. So
is that right? Wow, no kidding.
Yes, we are going to have our hands full with Josh. Now, good thing it's not, we don't play a lot of man. It's a lot of zone that we play, so it's going to be a lot of team defense. You got to be where you're supposed to be, and we go from there. But that's not a bad squad. And that O-line led by Quentin Nelson, that's a good squad.
Their center just went on IR, by the way. They're down their starting center, which is an interesting point.
So they're gonna have to shuffle some things around for sure.
By the way, they won't have to be covering Xavier Legette. By the way, it's not Xavier Legette that I was referring to. Don Mitchell. That's what I meant. Yeah, Xavier Legette. I don't even know how I remembered his name. God bless him. He's in the depths of hell out in Carolina right now. But yeah. No, Josh Downs, I feel like, but is Josh Downs, was that the benefactor of having Michael Pittman Jr. out on the field and then him being able to have that type of bump like we saw Coleman and Shakir have? Like, what's it going to be like when he's the X?
Listen, he's been doing it since the week 4. So he's been on the money. He's been pretty consistent, and that's with a bad quarterback. So we're going to see how this all plays out. Quentin Nelson obviously is playing some good ball right now. He's the only guard in football right now with an 80+ grade. In both pass blocking and run blocking, according to PFF. So that line, obviously, they're losing their guy, obviously their center, but they've got some players on the team. Like, there's a reason why you said, I think what you said, 7 of 9 games it's been within 3 points or 1 point.
No, all 9 games this year has been within a score.
Jeez.
1 possession.
So they keep games close. And we're about to find out really what's going to take place with this team. So it's going to be fun. This game is going to be fun. Joe Flacco is going to be getting the nod yet again, unless something changes, which I highly doubt. I don't think it's going to happen. So we're about to see what Joe Flacco is all about this upcoming game. So we'll see, man. The Real says, yo, did Z-Bot tell us what scares him this week? I came in late.
I haven't
Z-Bot
yet.
doesn't seem scared, actually. He seems very confident.
I'm really not all that scared about this game. The only thing I guess the one thing I said I could be rightfully scared about is what this offense is going to look like without Coleman and Cooper.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like that's, like I just mentioned, these Colts, if they allow the opposing quarterback to have a good day, they lose every single time. The Bills win every single time Josh Allen has a good day, this season at least.
Well, listen.
What's that going to look like, though, when, I mean, the Shakir has been, I mean, you and Pierre couldn't have been more dead on about the impact. I just didn't think it was going to be the way it's been. I thought he was going to be what he was last year, which was a sure-handed guy that was going to get you 3 catches in a game where you needed a first down or whatever. I didn't think they were going to be incorporating him into the offense to the extent in which they have now, where you're watching these screen passes work routinely, and he's breaking the first tackle every time, right? But when he's put in a role this upcoming weekend that he's not intended to be in, and that is the primary target with nobody else around that the defense really feels that they're threatened by, then I think it changes things. This is where I think James Cook in this upcoming game, him and I got to stop just saying James Cook. Ray Davis has been a major impact on many of these football games. They don't win the Jets game without Ray Davis. They don't win the Dolphins game without Ray Davis. So those are the two I look at as well, because the beauty of the Buffalo Bills, where they currently are right now compared to where they used to be, is we can say that with confidence. We can say going into a game, you know, I'm not loving the fact that the Bills are literally down to Mac Hollins being their potentially their ex receiver. If you continue to want to have Shakir play the role that he's been playing,
Right.
You're not going to feel overly confident about that, rightfully so. But when you factor in that the Bills have as good of a rush offense, or nearly as good of a rush offense as they do a pass offense, you have the luxury of saying, hey, this is the game where James Cook and Ray Davis might have to be a bit more of a difference maker than Josh Allen has to be with his arm. And the thing is that they're capable of doing it. Like I just mentioned, that's just 2 off the top of my head. Those are 2 games where the Bills do not win those games if their rookie second string running back doesn't have the game that he does. And James Cook right now is top 5 in rushing touchdowns in the league. So they can win in a variety of different ways. And I feel like that's why it's no secret that these Bills have put up the points that they have this year, and why they've been able to dominate offensively despite all the pieces they lost in the offseason.
James Cook is having a similar year as Jonathan Taylor right now. They're on the same in terms of yardage per game. They're cracking around the same yardage per run and right now. And James Cook surprisingly has 7 freaking rushing touchdowns this year.
Yep.
Listen, good on James Cook. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns this year. So they've obviously they've put an emphasis on getting him the football and let him capitalize. So we could talk about run the game, the pass game, and Josh Allen having to go against a decent defense. But like, one thing that we just can't overlook is how efficient this run game has been with the 1-2 punch of James Cook and Ray Davis, like you alluded to. So I'm looking forward to that and taking less off of Josh's plate. And that's another thing too. Less off of his plate, and by incorporating the run a little bit more, having this offense, not one that you can easily figure out what they're going to do. There were moments this season where you're like, man, freaking predictable, man. You're running, and then you're passing. Of course, defense is going to sit there and look for it. Now, we're freaking play action on first down. We're running on 3rd and 6 and getting that. Like, love what I'm seeing from Josh utilizing every aspect of the field, meaning spreading the football, taking the dump down that turns into a touchdown from Ray Davis. This is a new Josh that it's not turning the ball over. And this is another big thing. Josh isn't turning the ball over, putting pressure on the defense. He's holding onto the football. How often? I mean, dude, think about it. What is it? 18 turnovers he had last year? 18 turnovers he had last year. That's a lot of pressure on the defense. You're giving the ball back to the offense, and now the defense got to go right back on there and try to bail you out. Bro, he's giving them a little bit of chance to breathe because he ain't giving the ball up like that. So That's one aspect that's being somewhat overlooked in all of this in this defense and how they're going to perform. If Josh keeps holding onto the football, the defense will do their part. And I think that once we single out what we want to do, which is going to be stopping the run, I think we'll be relatively fine. I think we're looking forward to big things. James Cook, 496. Ray Davis, 262 yards. Bro, we'll be all right. We'll be good.
Third overall passing offense in terms of efficiency. Sixth, though, the overall rushing the offense in terms of efficiency. That's how close it's been this year. That's how much of a dual threat that they've been, what they've become with the emergence of this offensive line, with Joe Brady, with James Cook, and now Ray Davis adding to the fold too. And the other thing is Josh Allen hasn't really had to run the ball all that much. I mean, he does it in his spots. He picks his spots, and that's exactly what we've wanted, Rico. It hasn't been these 10 rushes a game type games that we've been accustomed to seeing from him.
So do you remember earlier this year we were talking about the over-under for Josh running, and it was like something like 540 yards or something like that. I was like, smash that over. Bro, he's at 200 yards rushing.
Crazy.
Wait, hold on. Let me just take a quick look. Josh Allen's at 211 yards rushing this year, right? Far way lower than what he's accustomed to. I mean, listen, there's games that he goes off, but he's really not touching the ball as often as he used to. So, he might get under that 500-yard rushing this year, man.
It's
not turning the ball over, not doing too much. Yo, we better watch out.
And I'm fine with it. I mean, I couldn't be more fine with it. Like I just said, like you saw last week, he had a couple of amazing runs. He had that insane run that got called back on that BS hold. And then on that third down early in the game, that incredible run to get the first down to extend the drive. So he still is able and capable and willing to do all those things. But they're not dialing it up as much as they had to last year, it felt like, or in years prior to that. So they're really doing everything right now offensively that you would hope that they would do. And the question is just right now is the health. Because when they're healthy, this team is set up right now. This team is set up right now. It's crazy to think that you would be saying that offensively going into the year. But I just think that addition of Amari Cooper, man, was something else. And you're starting to see, as I see my man Arrowhead Nation coming into the chat, you're starting to see what these top tier franchises are going to be doing here with their really solid pre-trade deadline acquisitions. Because Amari Cooper, even though he's only been on the field for a couple of games, you saw the impact. And boy, oh boy, did you see the impact by DeAndre Hopkins on Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You see what an offense can turn into when you have an elite quarterback that now has a wide receiver that can open up other guys while still being able to play elite football because the quarterback throwing them the ball is elite. Crazy. Because those two guys, DeAndre Hopkins took himself out of the game against the Titans when the Bills played him. And my God, Amari Cooper, God bless him, playing with Deshaun Watson, I don't care if you're prime Randy Moss, it probably wasn't going to be going down all that well for you. So the tide is turning, and the Bills' offense has gone from something I was worried about going into the year to when healthy now. I just think that they're set up in pretty much every area. They got a stout offensive line. They got a top 2 quarterback. They got a top passing offense, a top rushing offense. They're as primed right now, Rico, as they have ever been. Chris Sims said the other day, I believe, this is as good of a team the Bills have had since the 2020 AFC Championship run. I don't know if we were feeling that because it felt like
it doesn't.
It doesn't, right? It doesn't. And I feel like the reason why it might not feel that way is because in 2020, oh my God, 60-yard bomb to Gabe Davis, Josh Allen, 300 yards to, Diggs going off, whatever. It's just different now. And I also feel like it was so not expected. Everybody thought, at least I thought, I mean, not everybody, certainly cannot say everybody. The amount of people that had the Dolphins and the Jets winning this division was embarrassing. But I think most people knew that going into the year here, they had Josh Allen. They were still going to be competitive offensively. Maybe not nearly what they were, though. They've been just as good, arguably better. And that is something that has been sustained all year long. So right now, I would have to agree with Sims. You look around the league currently,
Yep.
And the Bills are right there. It just has to do with health. And if they go into the postseason with a healthy wide receiver core and a healthy Matt Milano, that's why I just hope we can continue to do what we've been doing this year. But my priority right now is about 2 months from tonight, because I just think that currently that this team, they're built to be able to do the things that they haven't been able to do in years past.
So let's stay on that topic, because I want to move away from the Bills. We're gonna get back into previews and things we want to see in this game and certain things, but I want to go around the league a little bit.
Yes.
And this is where we go off the cuff, and this is where I'm interested in your thought process here. So MVP has been a conversation that I feel like this topic changes every week, because whoever we see first, let's just say Josh Allen played this Thursday and he lit up the skies, we would have been talking about how Josh Allen is the MVP. This is the guy. This is the year, so on and so forth. Lamar Jackson's having a damn good year. Okay, he's having a good year, and
he's having a great year.
He's having a fantastic year. Okay, they're talking about how he's already surpassed the passing touchdowns from his MVP here last year. He's already surpassed that. Okay, so I bring this up because I'm looking at the game last night. I'm watching Lamar Jackson play slow first half. No different. We've seen it before where Josh has a slow first half and he lights it up. Is it too soon to say that he's the clear-cut runaway MVP as of right now? Or I need to see a few more games before I really go out and say he's the clear-cut MVP?
Lamar Jackson won the MVP last night.
No, the F he did not.
Yes, he did.
You were giving it to him already.
Lamar Jackson won the MVP last night against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Why?
Lamar Jackson is going to win his third MVP unless he has a catastrophic drop-off between now and week 18 of this year. Lamar Jackson will win the 2024 MVP, and he couldn't be more deserving of it. People were getting on our ass last year thinking that we were Lamar haters because we did not understand the fact that he was essentially anointed a unanimous MVP in a year where he had Tyrod Taylor type numbers with the Buffalo Bills. It made no sense. This year, it makes too much sense. Lamar Jackson is playing insane football right now. And the only argument against him in terms of winning the MVP was that, well, he's got Derrick Henry, the offensive player of the year, arguably. I think Saquon probably just took a leap over him this past week here. But regardless, it's going to come down to Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley more than likely for offensive player of the year. The argument against Lamar was, well, he's got Derrick Henry now. So, of course, he's not only going to be playing better, but you can't consider him to be the MVP because he's got an MVP caliber running back. Well, last night, Derrick Henry was non-existent. Derrick Henry didn't do a damn thing last night against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Baltimore Ravens were led into 4 consecutive touchdown drives in the second half by Lamar Jackson, who made insane play after insane play. That run he had last night to get them down to the 1 yard line where it looked like he had a 15-yard loss and all of a sudden they were on the 1 yard line. It was one of the more insane runs I've ever seen. There's very few things in the NFL right now that I can see a quarterback do and say, Josh Allen can't do that. Josh Allen can't do that. No one can do that. That type of run there. Now, just to be fair, Lamar Jackson can't bulldoze over a guy or hurdle over a guy like Josh Allen.
That's not his game. That's not
his game. But Josh Allen's game isn't scampering along the sideline like a ballerina and turning a 15-yard loss into a 20-yard gain. That run was absolutely insane. But last night, in a game where if the Ravens lose, the Bengals, who were essentially an outcast a couple of weeks ago, would have been a game behind them in the division. That game was absolutely massive for both teams, right? You would have had the Baltimore Ravens with 4 losses last night if Lamar Jackson doesn't come back and do what he does. And you also have to factor in that game was probably the best game a quarterback has had all year. And it was on Thursday Night Football against a divisional foe where every single person in America who's a football fan was watching. And it was the game of the year so far. Everyone has to consider the politics of this award. That's a major factor in the politics. It's the visibility. It's the buzz factor. Last night had all of that. But when you go and look at the numbers right now, and this is where compared to last year, it's not even close. If Lamar Jackson had these numbers last year and Stephen A. Smith is on ESPN ripping people to shreds for not giving him the unanimous MVP, then I would have been like, yeah, you're right, Stephen A. I get it. Fair enough. If he had these numbers last year compared to what everybody else was doing in the league, it's unanimous, no question. Last year, what Lamar's doing right now is twice what he was doing last year, and he was one vote away from a unanimous MVP. I think that the defense, and this is the difference right now between the Bills and the Ravens, the defense for the Ravens right now is not just bad, it's terrible. I don't know how the Bills only scored 10 points against that defense. That secondary, it's the reason why the Ravens currently will not be able to make the Super Bowl. That's how bad it is. This Ravens offense right now is the number one scoring offense in the NFL, and that's the only reason that they have 7 wins. If they weren't able to score 30 to 40 points per game, this team would have a losing record. That's how bad their defense is. Josh Allen has a sound team collectively around him. Now, you know my feelings on it. If the Bills lost Josh Allen tomorrow, this team might win 2 more games, right? I think if the Ravens lost Lamar, they would be able to win more than the Bills would because I think Derrick Henry is just that much different. But my point is, the Ravens would not have been able to do what they've done up until this point without Lamar Jackson. And if you're looking at the stats right now, 24-2 touchdown to interception ratio. 24-2 touchdown interception ratio, Rico, with I think the second best passer rating in the league behind Jared Goff, who's had like 3 perfect games this year because he throws the ball 19 times, and they have the best running back tandem in the league. I think here's the path to MVP for Josh Allen. He has to have one of those type of games that Lamar had last night against either the Chiefs, the Lions, or the 49ers. The games that are in the 4 p.m. or late night window that everybody will be watching that are against the top tier opponents in the NFL that'll be Super Bowl contenders by the end of it. He'll have to have one of those type of games, I think, to be able to have his argument. But I think Josh Allen right now is the clear-cut number 2. But I think Lamar Jackson last night locked up the MVP. And for those, I tweeted it out last night, and my comment section was getting blown up. Folks, you know how bad I want Josh Allen to win MVP. You know how bad I've been pounding the table on the notion that he is, in my opinion, on the short list of 3 guys that are the most valuable players in the sport, Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar. It could be a rotation to me for the MVP. But right now, Lamar, with as bad of a defense as they have, this defense is allowing an insane amount of points.
You don't get to just make all your points and then try to like, I'm ready to get in there, and you're everything.
Let me just put a bow on it. At the end of the day, Josh Allen, if Lamar had, let me just put the best way to wrap it up, Rico. The best way to wrap it up. I know. I can't believe what's happened last year's transition into this year. But I guess the best way for me to put it would be that if Lamar had the year he had last year, this year, Josh Allen would be the number 1 MVP candidate right now. Number 1. But the year he's having right now, to me, he's the MVP.
And you said clear cut. You didn't want to take it away. He's the runaway MVP. Cap. Right now. The MVP is 7-3. He still has to face. His team is second place in the NFC, in the AFC North. They still got to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. That could be a loss. That's 7-4. You're going to be the 4th seed, and I'm giving you the MVP, and you're a 24-2. Josh is 17-2 touchdown interception ratio, and they had this game. Josh goes off and hits you 5 touchdowns, bro. The way the narratives will switch up and say, Josh has got it. Now, you take away Josh off this team, we're poo-poo. We're one of those 2-6 teams. You take Lamar Jackson off this team, you still can do work with Lamar. Derrick Henry. That I'm not saying you should eliminate him from being the MVP, but I'm not giving him the MVP right off the rip. I just can't. I just cannot. You're 7-3 right now. You lost to the freaking Raiders. The Raiders are what, 2-6, 2 and whatever the heck they are, and then they lost to the freaking Browns. Give me a break. We lost to the Ravens. and I'll take it, right? They smacked us in the mouth. We lost to the freaking Texans, 2 playoff teams. The hell are the Raiders doing? The Raiders going to playoffs? I didn't think so. What up the Browns? The Browns going to playoffs? And you want to give that to the MVP? Great, having a great freaking year. I ain't ready to give him the MVP just yet. There's a lot of season left. That's why you can't run away MVP this one. No way, no how. You're having a much better year this year, which should definitely consider you as an MVP. But there are guys that are really in it for it. Jaden Daniels should be in that conversation now. I wasn't sure to put him in that conversation. He's absolutely now in that conversation. Josh Allen is absolutely front runner for that conversation. To run away, give it to my man Lamar, which I love. We both have a lot of respect for him. Can't do it based on his record, based on who he's played and who's lost to. And right now, you're second in your division. Well, cut it out, man. But Rico, that shouldn't take away from how he's been playing. He's been playing great. Listen, you went against a Bengals defense that's been atrocious this year. Don't give me that. Though I'm not going to give you all that love. You scored on a tiptoe. I mean, you can't take away from what they did, right? That pass on the sideline, right, to where he tiptoed and the buddy made it in. Great individual play. You can't take away from that. But it wasn't looking very good for Lamar Jackson at the beginning, right? But MVP players, that's what they do. They rally their team. They do what they're supposed to do and get their team to win. But the Bengals were a 2-point conversion away from giving the freaking Ravens their 4th loss of the year. I don't want to hear any of that MVP chat just yet from my guy Lamar. I know we both respect Lamar Jackson, but I can't not give it away to him just yet. Now, Josh Allen playing with Curtis Samuel that hasn't done diddly squat. You just brought in Amari Cooper. You got a Keon Coleman that's just starting to get warmed up now. Now you have Kincaid now. Now you have Khalil Shakir. Now this guy's got a boatload of receivers. Bro, you got Rashad Bateman. You got Zay Flowers. You got Mark Andrews. You got the amount of first-round talent this brother's got around him. It's about time you start doing that. It's about time. And I like Lamar. I'm a fan of Lamar. But if you're going to give the MVP to somebody, look at Josh in Buffalo and see what he's working with. See what he has been working with. Lost Gabe Davis. You lost Stephon Diggs. Everybody was writing him off for dead. And I'm talking to you as if you're not a Bills fan, which is crazy. Right? But you catch what I'm saying at the end of the day. Love Lamar, but I ain't ready to give that MVP to him just yet. Let's chill out. We got several more games. You got the Bills about to face the Colts, and then we have a big-time matchup against the Chiefs and the Bills. Let's just say the Bills take on the Chiefs and beat the Chiefs. The Ravens lost to the Chiefs, and we're going to sit here and still give up MVP to my mans? Heck no, not doing it. Too soon. Chill out. We know Lamar. He's a damn good player. I ain't ready to give it to him just yet. Listen, the stats are still comparable here. The stats are very much still comparable. We got another game. Josh can go off for 500 freaking yards, 5 touchdown passes. You know what I mean? And do what he does. And then guess what? I promise you this is what the league's going to be talking about. Josh is the MVP because this and this and this. All the shit I'm saying right now is exactly what they're going to say. And that MVP is going to simmer down. Right now it's Thursday night. Thursday night made it. It's everybody talking about that. If Lamar Jackson lost that game, bro, they're even talking about Joe Burrow in conversation for MVP with how he's been playing. But the problem is his team ain't winning. You got to be putting some wins together. And Lamar Jackson's at 7-3 could have been 7-4, and he still got to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy, you better chill out.
I agree, but is the question who do I want to win it or who do I think will win it? Because I think if you're asking yourself that, well, right now Lamar Jackson has 700 more passing yards than Josh Allen.
He's got one more game ahead of him. Go on.
So Josh Allen's throwing for 700 against the Colts on Sunday?
It'll be closer. It won't be 700 yards. It'll probably be like what, 300, maybe.
Well, he has 7 more touchdowns than Josh Allen.
Right now,
he has the same amount of interceptions as Josh Allen.
Correct.
He has a 20-point higher passer rating than Josh Allen. He has a higher scoring passing offense than Josh Allen with a worse defense than Josh Allen. And we saw Lamar Jackson win the MVP last year with half the performance that he's been having this year.
But we know he didn't deserve the MVP last year.
I agree with you completely. That's why when I'm saying all this, it's not just because I'm just.
I know. That's why it's wild for me to talk to you as if you're not.
I know.
Like I'm going up against somebody that's not a Bills fan because he shouldn't have won it last year. Everybody, the whole league knows it. Actually, it should have went to Josh, and we all know that. Statistically, he had a better year. But
I agree.
For whatever reason, they gave it to my man Lamar. Now, if he were to win it this year, nobody would say boo, but what I'm saying is I'm not ready to lock it and give it to him yet.
Well, don't you feel like, though, right now, though, Josh Allen would have to do something insanely significant to pass Lamar in the race? Because it just feel like why? Because that's how all these writers think. I mean, you got to think like the voters. I no longer look at it like it's up to me. I look at it like how these guys do it, because they do it in a completely different way. Do you realize the impact last night had on the MVP vote? Right now on BetUS, going into the game last night.
Yeah.
Mind you, Rico, if you and I had this exact conversation yesterday at 7:30 p.m., I would not have said anything I just said. That was the reason I'm saying this. The sole reason I'm saying this. That was the MVP moment last night. What happened last year? Lamar did the same exact thing against the San Francisco 49ers on Christmas night. The MVP was down to him and Brock Purdy, which is crazy, but that was the truth. Lamar went off in that game. Brock Purdy played like ass, and Lamar won the MVP. Now, that was later in the year, so it adds more to the validity of carrying that into the voting. But there's always those moments, right? There's always those moments. And this is why I'm saying it right now, because last night was that moment. Now, going into last night, both Josh Allen
I've turned into a Lamar fan right now.
Dude, I've always been a Lamar fan.
No, I'm saying like as if you're a Ravens fan. I've turned you to like a Ravens Lamar rat.
I mean, there's nothing I want more than Josh Allen to win the MVP. There's absolutely nothing. And like Walt said, and somebody said earlier, like, you can't say Lamar is the runaway winner, but Josh Allen can also still win it if he does X, Y, and Z. Yes, of course I can. As of right now, going into week 11, because the Ravens already played, as of right now, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. But if Josh Allen does similar to what Lamar Jackson did last night against the Niners or the Chiefs or the Lions, then he absolutely can still win it. My point is, it's going to now take a major leap, I think, from Josh Allen to pass Lamar, because the way that these things are weighed, the way that they're voted on, the moments like last night are going to matter tenfold compared to others. Josh Allen will have to have that similar moment to win it. But right now, going into the game last night, Rico, both Josh Allen and Lamar were tied. They were tied for first in the MVP votes on BetUS at plus 300. And right now, you can just see, based on what I'm saying, that single game alone has widened the margin. Right now, Lamar Jackson is the odds on MVP to win it at plus 200. Josh Allen has fallen to plus 325. So that game alone last night, Rico, went from these two having the exact same odds to now having odds separated by over 125 points. So I'm just trying to tell you, for everyone in the chat who just cannot stand the idea of me saying that Lamar won the MVP last night, money doesn't lie, folks. The money last night is indicating to you that right now, that's where it's at. And usually the odds on MVP favorite in the betting market is the one to win it. I did preface, if these Ravens collapse, or if Lamar collapses, no, he's not going to win it. But I thought the question was, as of right now, like, who's going to win it? And I think last night, if Lamar, and I have no reason to believe otherwise right now, Rico, he's got 24 touchdowns and 2 picks with nearly 3,000 passing yards and 125 quarterback rating through 10 weeks. I have no reason to think it's going to die off, right? So if it doesn't die off, my whole point is, if it doesn't die off and they continue to play the exact same way that they've both played all year, which has been phenomenal, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, if that continues, Lamar Jackson wins the MVP. If they continue down this path. So by the way, just real quick, these are the odds right now for all those in the chat. And hey, folks, put your money where your mouth is. Everyone's saying that Josh Allen's going to come back and win this.
Upset, folks.
Hey, listen, no one would love it more than me. But for all those who are very certain that Josh Allen is going to come back and win this thing, go put a little coin on it right now on BetUS. YouTube 150, the promo code. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on our next two after that. I did not think we were going to be having this conversation, and I'm loving it.
We are, because we're talking about stuff around the league when this is healthy. This is great. And I love it. I've put you on the other side. So you're in a weird territory. It almost feels like you're defending.
It feels weird.
I put you in that position. But I will say this. A major reason as to why Lamar won the MVP last year wasn't statistics. And I think we both can agree on that. It was about wins and losses at the end of the day. They finished at 13-4, right?
Mm-hmm.
13-4, modest numbers, but his team was winning. The Houston Texans finished at 10-7, Chiefs at 11-6, Bills 11-6, 13-4, and you're a winning quarterback, bro. They're gonna give it to you. You can't tell me statistically if he's better than Josh slightly, because at the end of the year, I think they're gonna be someone in the same vicinity. Rushing will be a lot better for Lamar Jackson because naturally you can see that Josh has taken a dip in rushing the football.
And we have to factor that in because we always factor that in when
weighing. But I'm about to get into my point here. If wins are not the same, the Bills finished with a better winning record, but against tougher opponents, and he's got a slight statistical edge over Josh. You're not giving it to Lamar Jackson with the less wins, and Josh Allen playing harder opponents and has a more winning percentage. You're gonna go to the winning quarterback based on the formula that they used last year. Ain't no way they're giving it to Lamar Jackson, and if they do, which I know they won't, because they can't. They will never give it to a quarterback three. Was it? It's gonna be 3 times in a row.
No, it'll be twice in a row. 3 in the last 6 years.
Excuse me, I apologize. 3 in the last 6 years. 3 MVPs is wild. That's
insane. Insane.
It's an accomplishment on its own, but so much folks have been talking about Josh, and you have to factor in who are you doing it with? Who are you doing it with? And what is it? What do you mean to your team? And that's what it's going to come down to. And if Josh is continuing to win and he blows out the AFC East that is looking like it's to be, like the Ravens did last year, bro, you cannot miss giving it to Josh. But there's a lot of season left. And I look forward to seeing it. It'll be fun. We both like Lamar. We both like Josh. Do we want Josh to win it? Of course we do.
Hell yeah.
The bigger goal is to get the MVP. However, I'm not ready to give it to Josh. And there are some worthy candidates for this MVP.
Yeah, I think Jared Goff's a worthy candidate. I think Saquon's a worthy candidate. He'll never win it, but I think he's a worthy candidate. One thing we're not factoring in, Rico, we haven't mentioned it.
Talk to me.
If it comes down to what you're saying here, the stats being quite comparable, but the record, one of these writers will just go, yeah, but what happened when they played head-to-head? 35-10 Ravens. That will be a factor.
Week 2, not buying it.
I have to sit here and think like these guys do.
I know you are. I know, which I'm making it hard for you because that as a fan is what we combat writers like that all the time. Where they're like, well, hold on. You're going to factor the head-to-head from week 2? I mean, so much has changed now. Like, you can give me head-to-head with Chiefs and Bills this season, late like this, what are we going to play them? Week 11, week 12? Yes, we could talk about that, but that will be a factor. Head-to-head, what will look like. But let's see, how did Lamar face when he played Mahomes, X, Y, and Z? Okay, how did Josh do when he played Goff, this, that, and the third? Let's look at that, who they played. Let's look at the magnitude of the games. Now let's vote on what it is. Head-to-head will be a factor. But who else did you play? Oh, by the way, did you lose to Gordon Minshew? Got it. Oh, you also lost to Jameis Winston? Got it. That is also going to be a factor into this, but it'll be fun. That's
the biggest factor of them all. I agree with you, Rico. That's the biggest factor of them all. Like, that's the biggest thing you can knock him on right now. Lamar would be those losses, which are crazy, right? But I don't know, the way that I see it, it also feels like, and I don't know why, Lamar is the media darling, man. Like, it just doesn't it feel like everybody wants to give him the MVP again? Aren't you getting that vibe? Because that's why I'm sitting here saying all this.
Listen, if I'm gonna jump on with you, he's playing good ball, and the Ravens look like a strong team despite the defense that they have right now. I think that's what's giving him the edge a little bit as well, because their defense is playing poor defensively, and it's taken Lamar Jackson to overcome poor defense. Last year, they were one of the best defenses in the game. Best. Now they're one of the worst. It's bizarre how it went on. Like, Patrick Queen leaving has changed the whole game. Roquan Smith was being glazed on last year. Now they're talking about, yo, this guy's a washed-up Ray Lewis. I mean, that's a lot of BS they're talking. But nonetheless, the Ravens defense is poo-poo right now. And Lamar Jackson is having to put the team on his back. The biggest criticism that Lamar's been getting is when it's crunch time, can you come in the clutch and make things happen? That's always been the knock on him, and he's been able to show it. And last night was a great example of how we did it. That's exactly how we did it. But anyway, that's a whole nother ballgame. The Ravens defense, they got to be fixed. That poor defensive coordinator, I don't think he lasts all year because they're gonna switch him out for the next year. But let's move on to another topic.
It is bad. It is awful, that defense. That's why I think that my buddy Bobby Baltimore, I texted him last night. I said, man, brother, you're gonna have content for weeks after that one. I mean, that was one of the best games I've seen in some time. That game was crazy. But he flat out told me, he goes, it was amazing. He goes, this team is not a February ball club, though. He goes, that defense, and it's true. It's just, do you see that defense getting a stop against Mahomes in the AFC Championship should they need it? There's just no way. There's just no way. That's the crazy thing about the current state of the Ravens is that typically when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you just mentioned Ray Lewis. What do you think about when you think about the Ravens? Defense, crazy defense. Absolutely. They've had an amazing defense my whole life. And all of a sudden, that's not the case. So I want to say one thing. What I love about this year is that it's compared to last year, there's a hell of a debate. This is awesome. I love this. I think it's an insanely legitimate debate right now between Allen and Lamar. You could make the argument for Derrick Henry. You can make the argument for Saquon Barkley, Jared Goff of all people. You can make the argument for it. The one last thing I want to say in terms of the Lamar situation here, the one last thing is I saw a chat and someone said it's most valuable player, not best stats. I hate to break it to you, Bob. It's never been the most valuable player. And that's my biggest issue with the award. If we were arguing, I'm arguing it on the side of what's it take to win it and how, and what is that person doing in that threshold to win it? It's never been most valuable. If it was most valuable player, Josh Allen at minimum would have one MVP on his shelf right now. He would have one MVP on his shelf. If it was most valuable, Mahomes would probably have 3 or 4. It's never been most valuable. Tom Brady, if it was most valuable, should have 10 MVPs. It's just never been that. It's a politically driven award that's all based on a variety of factors that often don't have to do with the game itself. It has to do with a variety of very small situations. So if we're talking straight value, though, you know my feeling, and I said it earlier. It's 3 players, and I think every year you could probably give them a 3-way tie for the MVP. Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes. Either of those guys go down, those ball clubs turn into the best in the league to a team that no one really cares about playing from week to week.
And here's an even crazier. And we talked about the referees being an issue on that last play. 2 egregious calls that should have been called. Hand to the face on Burrow. The guy that you should be watching, especially in those critical moments. Hand to the face should have been called. Didn't. Gesicki absolutely gets mauled in the red zone, in the end zone, doesn't get called, right? Just absolutely, these refs, man, they're just killing the game. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, sir. Are you ready?
Yeah, and I got one for you after this because I started earlier. Actually, I don't know if you want to talk about it right now. It has to do with this game.
Do right now.
Paulie brought it up. I wanted to talk about it anyways, but he gave us a great pathway to bring it up. Earlier in the show, Paulie, I hope you're still with us. You sent this along a while ago. Is this where you wanted to go?
I was going to go there and I was going to move on, but let's take this one.
So this had to do with the game last night. It also had to do with the game Monday night. The last 2 games we watched this past week all came down to a similar situation. The outcome wound up going in 2 different directions of the argument. So Paulie's saying, good evening, love the show. Appreciate you, Paulie. I have one question for you both. If you were in the same situation as the Bucs and Bengals were, would you go for it or kick the field goal? Now, Rico, you had mentioned that hands to the face. That I don't know how you don't call it. How, like you mentioned, there is a referee watching the quarterback's every move. How you miss the face mask call? You have this one. You have the Sam Darnold situation now. It's almost becoming an epidemic. It's unbelievable. But that play happened on a 2-point conversion. So Monday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Bucs are in an improbable spot. They're in Arrowhead without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin, and they just scored the game-tying touchdown with the opportunity to tie it and go to overtime or go for 2. Yep. They went for the extra point, tied it, immediately lost in overtime. Last night, the Bengals did the exact same thing. They opted to go for 2. They didn't get it. They lost the game. That brings up the question that everybody's been talking about, and I think it's a hell of a topic. In that situation, are you kicking the extra point or are you going for 2? Rico, lay it on the line for me. Give me your argument.
All right. Listen, it's simple, but yet it's complicated because there's a lot of factors in it. Um, how has your defense been playing? All right. Who's your opponent? How difficult was you to get to the point that you're in right now? So I'll put myself in the Bucks situation. The Bucks, you're sitting here with a team that you know has got a killer on the other side, and your coach has an ability to put these guys away. You give him the ball back, you're losing. It's who he is, and you decide to not go for two in that moment, knowing what you're dealing with no receivers, no nothing. You got to go for two. In the famous words of Herm Edwards, do you know those famous words? Those famous words are
You play to win the ball game.
you play to win the game. That's the point in all of this. If you have an ability to go for two, and you got to live and die with it. You live and die with it. You go for it. Now, I don't know if you want me to answer on both aspects or
yes. Like overall, give me where you're at. Like you're the head coach. You're the head coach.
I'm the head coach. I'm Todd Bowles. I'm going for it. I know Andy Reid. I know who's on the other side. I know my defense isn't playing as great as I wanted to. I'm not giving them another opportunity. I'm going to live and die with it. And if they say, hey, but why don't you go for it? Did you see who's on the other side? Do you not trust your defense? No, I do not, right? We were in this game because of my quarterback and how we've managed to do well offensively to get to this point. Go for two and go for the win, Todd Bowles. Now, let me bring myself to Zach
Taylor.
Zach Taylor. Bro, you're going up against Lamar Jackson. You had a handle on them, you know what I mean, the first half, so you had an idea of how to stop these boys. Your team is without T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is just a dog right now. Do you go for the win? You absolutely go for the win. You gotta go for the win in that situation. And defensively, you could stop them if you want to, but like you got here. There's circumstances that brought you here. You gotta go for it. Now, would I've gone to the guy that he went to? Nah, I find the best player in my squad, create that play for him and let it rip. You got to go for another. So I'm going for two, especially with who you know you're playing. Go for it and go for the win. That's why we play the game. Go for the win. And these two coaches, they didn't get the job done. So what say you in that situation?
It is all circumstantial. And in both the circumstances on Monday night and Thursday night, you go for the two every single time. I did a live watch party during that insane Chiefs-Bucks game the other night. You can go back and watch my real-time reaction to the decision Todd Bowles made to take that game to overtime. That was a death sentence. You are going from the 3-yard line with a chance to win. You are foregoing that chance at that position for a chance to go and flip a coin.
Yep.
And if you lose that coin, you lose the game. And you saw the look on Baker Mayfield's face the second they lost the toss. He knew they lost the football game.
That's it.
Because the Kansas City Chiefs are winning that game every time. Don't we know it, Bills fans? Don't we know it? Because we've been in that same situation before. In that moment, you are a team that had no reason being in that game. You are a 9-point underdog in that game on the road against a team who hasn't lost since Christmas of last year. You're without your top 2 wide receivers. You can get out of that stadium with a W if you get your best play in the end zone from the 3-yard line. You have 2 choices. You either try that route or you take the risk of going to overtime. If you win it, you have to get yourself back into position to where you're already at. If you lose it, you're going to lose the game. Mahomes is going to go down and score it every single time. Foregoing that was one of the more poor coaching decisions, in my opinion, the whole year. If they wouldn't have gotten it, nobody would have questioned it. Everybody questions it if you don't go for it. Everybody. It was a bonehead move. Andy Reid said himself post-game that he was happy he didn't go for it. If the opposing coach is at the podium saying he's happy that the other team did or didn't do something, that means you completely dropped the ball. Last night, different circumstance. If I'm playing the Chiefs, Rico, I don't care if I'm the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, or I'm the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Patriots. I'm going for it every time. Just because I know it's coming down to a toss, and I'm not leaving it up to chance to allow Mahomes to go win that game. Now, last night's a different circumstance. It wasn't because of the opponent necessarily. It's because of how bad both defenses were. You know, whoever wins that toss in overtime is winning the game. The Ravens were doing whatever they wanted in the second half offensively once the late third quarter came around. What they were doing, I mean, it was just, it was effortless. They threw an out route. The dude goes 80 yards down the field. Tackling was abysmal by Baltimore. They were scoring touchdowns at will. They were on a 4 consecutive touchdown streak at that point of the game. If they lose the toss, the Bengals in overtime, the Ravens are winning that game instantly. Then you look at the Baltimore side. If they were in the same circumstance, they should have also went for 2. Their defense was getting torched. They just allowed the Cincinnati Bengals to go all the way down the field in a minute and a half to go and tie that ball game. Either team in that position last night had to go for 2. The reason being, the defenses were playing so poorly, the offenses were playing so efficiently. Whoever loses the toss is going to lose that ball game. So despite it being a failing effort last night, that was 100% the right choice. Yeah. Here's a circumstance where I wouldn't do it because it's not all cut and dry. I would argue that these 2 past scenarios here were the best scenarios on the planet in terms of going for it. And that's why it's so interesting that you had one team not go for it and you had one team go for it. Ironically enough, both teams lost, but it's not always cut and dry. Say I'm in a game. I'll give you a perfect example. The Bills-Texans game a handful of weeks ago that could have gone to overtime had the Bills not had the insane blunder they had at the end of the game. Say that game went a bit differently and the Bills, when they tied it, were in a position, or not, it wouldn't go differently. So just say the exact same thing happened. The Bills go and tie the ball game. They have a choice to make, right? Extra point or 2-point conversion. The extra point in that situation is accurate. Both teams have 20 points. The Texans' offense was struggling terribly in the second half, and the Texans had proved throughout that game that they were able to have Josh Allen in a bad spot. That was the worst game Josh Allen has maybe ever played. So if I am the coach in that situation, I'm taking the game to overtime because I believe in that scenario that the defenses have showed me throughout the game that they're able to stop it. So I don't think losing the toss immediately loses the game. And I also think that the offenses, when I'm looking at both sides as well, they weren't playing over the top one way or the other to where I think one side has the edge going into overtime. That's a situation where I think it's an even playing field going in based on the toss. Then I would take it to overtime, depending on how my defense is playing and how my offense is playing. That's a situation where I take it, where I feel like if it's an even playing field, where I feel confident in my defense's ability to stop them, but I also feel confident in my offense's ability to move the ball, I take it to overtime. Last night, there's no way in hell you could have felt confident about your defense. And on Monday night, there's no way you could have felt confident about not having Mahomes go down and score if they win the toss. So that's the only scenario where I wouldn't do it, Rico, in a game where I feel like it's really close on both sides of the ball, and you feel like it's just kind of starting over in the overtime period, and you feel like you have a good semblance on both sides of the ball to be able to win it once you get there.
And you're right. It is circumstantial, and there's so many moving parts on your decision, on what you're thinking, how confident you feel. Did somebody come to you and be like, dude, like we're gassed, like we got nothing? Like, I mean, nobody would ever do that. You're not, your name's not Anthony Richardson, but you catch what I'm saying. Like it's not a definite. You can't just, we're going for it. No. What's on the back end? What am I looking for? How's our best chances? Are we the most healthy? Am I catching these guys off guard? Do you have something in your bag, offensive coordinator, that we haven't practiced? You ready to try it? Let's roll. So I'm with you. I like it. If you had to be one of them though, that you would have taken your chances against the opposing offense, you're taking the point with Zach Taylor. Take the extra point and face the Ravens and take your chance against the defense.
Oh, last night, no way in hell. I'm going for that too every time. Last night,
no matter what.
That was the right call. 100%.
I like it.
1,000%. There was no way that they were stopping the Ravens in overtime. There was no way. So I feel like that was the right call. Like you mentioned, I didn't love the play call. Yeah, but the Bengals also got hosed. There was a massive holding on that call, and there was a massive face mask on that call. So
I have major respect for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow didn't whine. He's not a whiner. That boy don't whine whatsoever. whatsoever. He don't whine at all. He got smacked on the forehead and was like, just fix his helmet and just walked on about his business. We lost. What can I do about it? It sucks because that's a good team, and how they're 4-6 or whatever the record is, 3-7. Crazy work to me. Let's move on to the next topic.
Let's do it.
You got Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Washington Commanders.
I can't wait. That's one of the games of the weekend.
Who needs it more? Who needs this win more? Russell Wilson or the rookie going up against a very hot Pittsburgh Steelers team in Jaden Daniels? Who needs this win more? They're both 6-2. Make a case for both.
Pittsburgh definitely needs this win more than Washington does.
Talk to me and tell me why.
So Washington is already way ahead of the game. This was one of the worst teams in football last year. Everybody thought they would be better with Dan Quinn, with Jaden Daniels. They didn't think they would be currently in position to have the 2 seed in the NFC and have the division title in the NFC East. Nobody thought that was going to be the case for the Commanders going into Week 10. They're playing with house money right now, and it's already going to be a playoff team. That's a playoff team. So, to me, they're playing with house money. Jaden Daniels is already the rookie of the year, and they're far beyond expectations. Far beyond. Right now, to me, the NFC is also much more top-heavy than the AFC. I think that regardless of what that outcome is, the Commanders are going to be right within the thick of things. The Steelers, go and look at the North right now. Rule out the Cleveland Browns, obviously. That's the toughest division in football outside of the NFC West or the NFC North. That division is insanely tough. You saw it last night. The Bengals got swept by the Ravens this year by a combined total of a 4-point margin. That's what this division is. The Browns beat the Ravens, for God's sakes. That's what this division is. And the Steelers still have to play the majority of their divisional schedule, including the Bengals twice. This is a team that is primed to be able to win this division if they win the games that they should. This is a game that they should win because they're not going to sweep Baltimore. I just don't see it happening. And they're going to have a couple more losses down the stretch. Have you seen the Steelers' schedule down the stretch? It is one of the toughest remaining schedules in football. Yep. The Commanders are playing a 4-win schedule. So they have the benefit of having a lighter load towards the end to be able to overcome a loss here. You also have a Steelers team right now that should they lose a game like this, the Ravens are going to make up the ground and pass them in the division. The Steelers need to buy as much cushion as possible. Now, you could make this same argument for the Commanders because if the Commanders win and then the Eagles win this week, Thursday Night Football again next week is an unreal top-of-the-line banger. It will be for the number one position in the NFC East, Thursday Night Football between the Commanders and the Eagles. It will be incredible. That's kind of why I'm rooting for the Commanders in this game, just because I want that situation to pan out. But to me, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact that the Commanders are already in a much better spot than anybody could have imagined. The Steelers right now, I don't think that they can afford this loss with how tough that division is. And I think that with a win, it really allows them to go into a back end of their schedule that's insanely difficult and have a bit of a cushion to be able to lose a couple of games and still be in a good spot to not only contend for the division, but make the playoffs.
I like it. I found this question intriguing because you have one guy that's on the tail end of his career and you have one guy that's just beginning his career. But it's the freaking Commanders and what they've gone through. Who needs this more? I found this tough because this is one of the questions I was overhearing on one of the radio stations today. And there was compelling arguments for both. Russell Wilson being on the tail end of his career, him taking over, Tomlin having trust to give him the reins. He's going up against a young guy, and this is going to be a tough test for Russell Wilson. But I like Jaden Daniels for this to be more. A, he's doing that as a rookie. B, he's going up against a very tough defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's leading the NFC North with Philly. You got Dallas. I mean, not that Dallas is anything, but it's a big name team. And then the Giants are the Giants. But a rookie doing this, and he's in conversation for MVP. You got to put him in that conversation. So this is big for Daniels. This is a big matchup on a 2:00 game. Love this for Jaden Daniels. But I mean, and Russell Wilson, I want to show him love because he took the job away from Justin Fields. I mean, it should have been his to begin with, but he's nursing a calf injury. Justin Fields gets benched after going 4-2. Reminds me of EJ Manuels, but doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this, right? What division you play in, it matters for both guys. You have the Ravens on your nipping on your heels, and you have a big matchup against a young quarterback, and you're trying to prove yourself and stay in context, in I guess keep up with the young buck. So Russell Wilson, it's gonna be some tough things for him too. But I love the story for the Commanders.
Me too.
They've got so much that they got to overcome, and then you got this rookie coming in and doing big things. I don't think a rookie's ever come in and won the freaking MVP as a rookie. So, and he's in conversation right now. So this is huge. So give me Jane Daniels over Wilson. Wilson's won one. And I think this bodes well as a rookie, bodes well for him. But I mean, there's no wrong answer. You could have both having a storyline to who's it more for. But I like that the fact that you brought Russell Wilson's schedule that's coming up. It's super tough.
Brutal.
And don't sleep on these Bengals.
Right.
And that's another one. And here's the other question I have for you. I had a whole slew of them, right? And it's a perfect segue. Are the Bengals done? Are they done? Can they make a run by looking at their schedule and seeing if they can make it happen? Can the Bengals revive or stay alive in this AFC?
Man, has anyone gotten burned more this year than the Bengals? They had that overtime loss to the Ravens earlier in the year where they were up by double digits at one point, and they pissed it away. They had that game completely in the bag. Last night, they were up 21-7 late third quarter. Absolutely pissed that game away. Right. That Chase Brown fumble last night could have completely ended their year. That's how big of a moment that game was. They also had the game against the Commanders where they put up 33 points and still lost. That defense allowed Jaden Daniels to go nuclear on them, and they had an unreal touchdown at the end to win it. They also had that loss to the Patriots earlier in the year that no one can make any sense of. They also had that loss to the Chiefs, Rico, where the Chiefs got that pass interference late in the game that set them up for the field goal.
These games have been close.
Close, man. They have been one of the more unlucky teams in football.
Some would say they should have beat the Ravens twice.
They easily could have. The margin of victory was 4 points combined for the Ravens in both those games. Crazy. So you're looking at their upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns, Broncos, Steelers. I don't hate it. You think they split with the Steelers at least? I think they can beat the Chargers. They're going to beat Dallas. Dak Prescott's going to be out for the year. They're going to beat Tennessee. They can beat Denver. They're going to beat Cleveland. So the question right now, they're capable of doing it, but what's going to happen within the AFC to allow them to be able to do it? So right now, if you look at the current, the overall playoff picture as it stands right now, here's what it would be if the season ended today. Do I think the Bengals, who would you rather see in the playoffs, Rico? The Chargers, the Broncos, or the Bengals? I think the answer is pretty obvious. You'd rather play the Chargers or the Broncos than the Bengals. I think many teams would probably.
I'd rather play the Broncos, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm saying. You'd rather play the Broncos or the Chargers than the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So right now you got the Chargers at 5-3, the Broncos at 5-4. The Broncos are playing the Chiefs this weekend. They're going to lose that game. Who do the Chargers got this weekend? The Chargers.
You keep on there. I got you on the Chargers.
The Titans. The Titans. So they're going to win, but they have a head-to-head with Cincinnati next week. So that's actually a huge game. That'll be a huge game. But right now, look at where the Bengals are. They're at 4-6 with a game behind Indianapolis. Now we can make a nice assumption here, Rico, that Indianapolis will also be 4-6 after this upcoming Sunday when JA17 and the fellas improve themselves to 8-2. So at that point, you'd have the Bengals right on the outside of the bubble with the Broncos falling to 5-5 with a loss to the Chiefs. These Bengals can 100% still get in. just based on the fact that the bottom end of this playoff picture and the bubble is just so bad. I mean, once you get past the two teams on the outside here in the Bengals and the Colts, you have the 3-win Jets. I think they lose to the Cardinals this weekend. And then every single remaining team has 2 wins. 6 teams with 2 wins right now. So these Bengals have a schedule where I think that there's a variety of wins lined up for them on there. They're going to have to steal a couple that you might not anticipate them. Like they might have to sweep the Steelers in order to get in. They're going to have a win or two additional compared to what maybe you would have guessed that they would have had down this stretch here, predicting before the season started. But in terms of them being able to do it, 100%. I think that they definitely have a chance to be able to get in, and it's more based on who's surrounding them right now. I think these teams like the Broncos they're gonna fall out. Spots gonna.
So you think they can take 2? You think they win against the Chargers?
I think that they can. That game will decide the
season. They lose against the Chargers, it's over.
Yeah, it's done.
So they got to win against the Chargers.
Playoff game.
They split. Let's just say they split with Pittsburgh. Let's just say, okay. So that's 2 wins there. So that's 6 wins. Cowboys 7. Cooper Rush ain't doing it for me. Titans 8. Browns, who knows? Broncos, who knows? It's between the Browns and the Broncos. That gets you to what, 9 wins? If you get them both? 8? I don't know, bro. I don't know.
And depending on how bad some of these teams do, like an 8-win team could get the 7 seed, depending on how bad the bottom end of that playoff picture winds up being. I mean, that's just currently what it is. Now, right now, Rico, going into last night, because I looked this up, I was interested. I had the same question about the Bengals' chances to make it in. Going into last night, the Ravens, or the Bengals, rather, were at even odds to make the playoffs. -115 to make it, -115 to not make it. Right now on BetUS, that loss last night now has them making the playoffs at plus money, with them not making the playoffs at the favorite at -155. So that game last night certainly swung things, man. And they were so close that if they would have gotten that win last night, it would have been on for the Bengals. By the way, if you do think they're going to win it, make it. And I like the plus money on the Bengals to win this right now, or to be able to make it, Rico. I kind of like that. If you like it too, 125 or 150% sign up bonus on BetUS using the promo code YouTube150 on your first deposit up to $2,000. 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. I just think based on the competition that they have surrounding them, plus the head-to-head with the Chargers, Rico, they're definitely still in play, but they cannot lose that Chargers game.
All right. I got another one before we get out of here. I got a couple more topics that I think that'll be interesting. So we obviously know the Chiefs are 8-0. They're doing it, haven't lost yet. And their schedule,
oh my God,
doesn't seem to get any tougher. I mean, obviously, once they play the Bills, obviously things change. Let me just jump into I had it there and I just lost it. I wanted to pull up their schedule, so I'll just pull it up another way. Actually, let me just pull it up right now. So the Chiefs, they face. Let me just open this up here. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. So Chiefs being 8-0 right now, killing it right now. First in the AFC West, AFC altogether, NFL. They got the Broncos next, the Bills after that. They got the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. Which is more likely to happen? The Chiefs three-peat or going undefeated? What are your thoughts?
Damn. The three-peat. The three-peat is more likely to happen.
You think so?
There's only been how many teams that have gone undefeated in the regular season? 2?
1.
Was it just
season? Excuse me. No, excuse me. I thought they win the whole thing. So you had obviously the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins. Yeah,
Dolphins, and you had the Patriots of 07. I can't remember.
I'm talking strictly regular season. I think, is it just the Patriots and the Dolphins?
I think it's Patriots and Dolphins, I believe. Yep.
So as you can see, that is next to impossible. And now, it feels like
you've got And here's the thing. Broncos division games are tough. I don't know what it is, but it's always tough. Pat Surtain out there. You know what I mean? Always tough. Then you got the Bills. Obviously, it's gonna be a tough one right there. Panthers, Raiders. Raiders already they play them tough for some reason, but they're just not good enough this year. Chargers. There's always something with that matchup. So you might be right. Three-peat might be the more likely scenario to happen.
Well, my point was, ever since Mahomes has been the starting quarterback for the Chiefs, they've been in the AFC Championship game every single year.
Isn't that gross?
It's insane. So when you factor that in, what's more likely to happen? Something that's only happened twice in NFL history, or something that's happened every single year Mahomes has been in the league? I think once you get to the AFC Championship, then you're one, essentially, this is the way I see it, based on how it's gone for the Chiefs. You're one game removed from being able to win the three-peat, or to get the three-peat. You are what? 7 games removed now from getting the undefeated season. Plus, I also don't know how much they care about it. I think that these Chiefs could very likely have the 1 seed locked up by like week 16. That could be very likely. The Bills would have to win out to get the 1 seed, I think, at this point, barring an epic collapse from the Chiefs. The Chiefs right now have a 2-game lead on the Bills, and then everybody after that, they have a 3-game lead, right? So they could have it locked up. They might sit guys coming into the end of the year. I don't think they really give a damn about the undefeated season. I just don't know if they care that much.
If they're close enough,
I know. I mean, I know me personally, I would always go for it. I would go for it. That to me is too rare air to go against and not try to pursue it. But to answer the question, I think that the three-peat is more likely, just because we know what they're capable of doing in the postseason, and they did it last year on the road. This year, they will most certainly be at home for every game with the bye. So, yeah, and I don't know. Right now, the Lions to me are the team that's going to make the Super Bowl in the NFC, and I would never put money on Jared Goff beating Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I would never put money on Dan Campbell beating Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. So, as much as it makes me want to vomit all over myself right now, I think it's more likely that they become the first team in NFL history to have a three-peat than they are the third team to have an undefeated regular season. What say you?
Are we going to witness a three-peat?
If I had to put my money on it right now, I would say yes. I would say 100% yes.
Witness a three-peat. And here's the thing. And I think about like destiny and what's supposed to happen and all that stuff. It's just like you almost because it's the NFL and you like to see things that haven't happened ever to happen, right? Like seeing, not that it hasn't happened, like when Kobe was hitting like 80 plus points, like you like to see those things. You might hate Kobe, right? I love Kobe, but you might hate Kobe, but you like to see him put up 80 points, right? You might hate the Chiefs, but it would be something to see these guys do a three-peat. Now you're like, yo, that's a dynasty. A three-peat in the NFL with all that turnover and how these happen and what they've gone through, crazy to me. And I'm with you, man. I think the likely scenario is that they go and three-peat this thing. Would I hate it? Absolutely, I would hate it. But it's definitely something that they're thriving for it. They know how difficult it is. I mean, they didn't, if they felt comfortable, they would have never gone out and got D-Hop. Now you got D-Hop that had a monster game with these guys. And now you got Hollywood Brown that's going to return at some point. Xavier Worthy is now going to find his role. He hasn't found it just yet, but he'll find his role as a rookie. Andy Reid is just having, craziness.
That made me laugh. I was just laughing to myself. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What's more likely? The Chiefs lose in the playoffs or lose in the Super Bowl?
You know what? I think they lose in the playoffs. I think, as much as it would be a great story, I think there's a team that's going to take them out. The team,
you don't think they three-peat this year?
Team that's going to take them out is sick and tired. They're sick and tired. They're done, right? And you might think I'm talking about the Ravens. Sick and tired of you might be thinking I'm talking about the Bills. It could be either one, but both teams are sick and tired of these Chiefs. So they're going to go. It's about beating the Chiefs at the end of the day. So beating the Chiefs, you got to take away who's been winning it this whole time. Like, it's disgusting to hear that this buddy's been in AFC Championship his whole freaking career, for crying out loud. You kidding me? Nah, bro, he gotta go. He gotta go. So, nah, he's not winning that Super Bowl this year. There's got to be a plan to stop this diabolical plan for these guys to win the third chip in a row. Heck no, you ain't getting that. We got to stop. The Bills got to put a stop to it. They got to put a stop to it. And it's going to be led by Sean McDermott himself. He knows what's at stake. He's got to put a stop to it. Got to. And you know what? I wouldn't be mad if the Bills tried to push for a number 1 seed either. I mean, that wouldn't hurt either. That wouldn't hurt.
I'm just trying to think of how I feel like it's gonna. There's not a single part of me that sees him losing. I just don't see him losing. I don't know how they lose. They lose.
Hold on. Let me tell you how they lose. Okay, because right now it's not like Pat Mahomes is playing the most best ball ever.
Doesn't matter. That's the problem.
Hold on. When it's in crunch time, I get it. Defensively, they're great, but dude, he's got 11 touchdown passes, and he's got 6 picks. Hold on. Do I got that right?
No,
he's got
right.
9 interceptions.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
He's got 9 interceptions this year. So there's gonna come a time where he might not be able to overcome that. And you wish that those games happen in the playoffs. The one that he can't overcome. Where it's like
you pray to God. You pray to everything that you love. But when you just rattled off that number, that sounds to me like the stat line of like Bo Nix. Like if you said, guess who has 11 touchdowns and 9 picks right now? I'd be like, Drake May, Bo Nix.
Facts.
I don't know, whoever. And they are 8-0. 8-0.
1,900 yards passing, 11 touchdowns. He's got a QBR of 69, and he's throwing at a 69, 70% rate. And he's still winning.
This is why, and that's what scares me the most.
He's still winning.
Scares me the most. Because if they were doing this and he was the clear-cut MVP right now, I'd be like, yeah, of course, it's Mahomes. This is what scares me the most about it. He's playing mid-ball at best. And now all of a sudden, here's DeAndre Hopkins. Travis Kelce. Let's just have a career high in receptions. Bro. Right? It's like, a Kareem Hunt. Let's start running the ball with some efficiency.
This is why I need these Bills to get it together, man.
I hate him.
Amari Cooper didn't come over for him to just have measly 4 receptions, man. Sometimes you're just gonna have to find a way. Get these boys the ball. Like, I gotta say this, man. Khalil Shakir, it's gonna sound crazy, but he just had 9 receptions, Rico. What do you want? What do you want from him? I want more. Damn it, I want more. These screens are great, but where's the deep ball? Where's that deep post? Where's the corner route? Like, I want those plays. I need to see what this guy's made of. And if this is the game we got to find out, so be it. Show me. You ain't got no Keon. You may not have Amari Cooper. I'm not even sure what's going on with that, brother. And right now, I'm not getting enough from a man Kincaid, if we're going to be completely honest. I know that Walter's been on my case. Talking about, yo, man, you're not getting on Kincaid enough. You're giving this brother a pass. No more passes, man. I need my guy to step up. 10 targets. I like the targets. But now we got to come through. We got to come through. If it's not going to be Khalil Shakir being the deep threat, somebody's got to be the deep threat. The problem is Josh Allen is hitting at a 34% rate deep ball. Deep ball is trash.
It's bad.
He can't hit the deep ball. 34%? Come on, man. We need to be better than that, baby. We need to be better than that. But anyway, I digress. I need it. I need my boys to step up and really show out, especially if Cooper and Keon are going to be there. I need my guy to step up, man. What's Jeff King saying?
Jeff's saying he's got to run, but he's saying, God bless you and yours. Best Bills fan podcast right here, right now, with all you, Rico and Bob, best in the business they are. Be well, folks. Go Bills. Jay King, we love you, brother. You're a legend. Appreciate you hanging out with us on a Friday. I don't know where you're going, but I guarantee you're gonna go. He's gonna go get into something tonight, Jeff King. It's only 9:30.
He's probably gonna hang out with Cash. He's gonna hang out with Cash, maybe a steak, maybe go get some chicken nuggets at McDonald's. I don't know what he's got planned. Maybe
that sounds good.
Sounds pretty good. I think so too.
Super chats.
Let's go to super chats, man. Let's go to super chat. What do we got? First super chat coming in from MK Perez. Says, yo, I agree with Bot. We need to stop the run. We absolutely do. And listen, once we establish what we're trying to do, we're pretty much saying my pass defense is better than your whatever receiving threat that you have. What we worry about is that run. So we're going to make sure that we do stop that run, and you're going to have to beat us. You're going to have to beat us in the air, Joe Flacco. We're about to find out what's really good. So,
yeah, I'm interested to see if it's the same approach that they had against Seattle, where it's like, let's take away the run and allow you or make you throw it without your best receiver. But yeah, definitely. That's the key. I think if Jonathan Taylor has a middle of the pack type day, the Bills keep this Colts team to under 20 points.
I'm with you. Let's go to the next super chat here.
Richie, nothing better than having a vodka tonic or 2 or 3 on a Friday night watching you boys on the living room 65-incher. Rico and Bot, best darn crew. And Richie, that sounds like a night, brother. I'm in on that. A couple of V&Ts, Rico. You and I on the 65er. Richie's got it going down tonight.
No. Ricky doesn't have it going down. Richie, step your game up. 65?
No good?
Back in the day, 65 used to be it. Back in the day. Step it up. At least 70 and above. 70 and above.
70, yeah.
70 and above. 65? Cool. You know what I mean? In the kids' bedroom. I'm talking shit like I'm big baller over here. I do, however, have an 82-incher, but that was something that the wife had and I discussed when we moved to this province. I said, I don't care. I'm moving to your province. I just need a couple things. I need space for myself for when I do my podcast, and I need my TV. That's it. I don't ask for much.
I was going to say, you're not asking for much.
Do what else? Do whatever the hell you got to do. Just give me my TV and give me my space, and we good. So, Richie, step it up, man. 65?
The 82 is nutty. The 82 is a whole different level.
It's great. You just have to have enough. I don't care. Some people say, like, you have to have the size of the room has to be big enough so you can have the 82-inch. I don't give a damn what size room it is. I could be in a small, little tiny bachelor, no bedroom. TV, massive.
Yeah, who cares? And it looks even bigger when you're in a smaller room. It's even better.
Watch out. Here we go. Let's go to the next one here. Richie Fresh coming back with it. Says, yo, let's see. Cakewalk Sunday and taking the Chiefs out to the woodshed next week. They're going to learn something. I'm all one, baby. Shot time. He's
knocking shots back with the V&Ts. I'm loving it.
I'm with that. Signify knows. What's up with Signify? What's he saying?
Thursday Night Football was no joke. The worst reffing I've ever seen. It literally bothers me. The league needs to do something because the Ravens got handed that game. I don't think the Ravens got handed that game, but the Bengals should have certainly gotten another crack at that 2-point conversion. I just don't understand how blatant calls like that get missed. I understand missing a hole in the trenches or whatever. How you're missing grabbing the quarterback's face mask, the most viewed guy on the field at any given time. There's no excuse. Moment. There's no excuse. Yep. It's the third time this year it's happened. It's a joke. It's a joke. And how that's not reviewable. Once again, we had like an hour conversation about this a couple weeks ago. How it's not reviewable is just.
It's wild.
It makes no sense.
Oh, let me ask you this. They call the flag. Okay, you get another crack at the 2-point conversion. Are you now kicking it and going for the single, or are you still going for it?
Hell no, I'm on the 1-yard line now. I'm tush pushing that thing.
Tush push, I like it.
All day.
I'm with it. Signify Notes comes back and says, "Hey, what's funny is that Lamar will win his 3rd MVP before he wins his 3rd playoff game. Dude,
how nuts is that?
Such an overrated playoff choker. Ooh, that's a stat right there.
God, that is insane. Imagine that.
That's a stat right there.
That's the odds on.
That's a stat.
The odds on scenario right now. How crazy is that?
That's a stat. Damn. That's a stat. Real talk. Listen. He's got a point.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Here comes Signify Knows again. He goes, "Hey, they will three-peat without a doubt in my mind. Bills are the only chance to stop them, and I don't see it happening this year." It's disheartening to hear something like that, right? Because like every year your roster changes, there's turnovers, there's this, there's that. I mean, are we built for a championship this year? Maybe. Are the Lions more built to win a championship this year than the Bills are? Is it about just getting hot at the right time? There's so much that play into this whole situation, right? Because not only will you have to face obviously a tough Chiefs team, you got a Ravens team that's beating around the corner. There's a lot laying on the line here when it comes to, I mean, who does what and how things stand out. And looking at the AFC, your top 4 teams, I'll say 4, your top 4 teams in the AFC, it goes Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Kansas City. Houston, if they get, I mean, they're not. Houston feels like they've declined.
Yeah, we're like forgetting about them, aren't we? They're kind of
it's almost like a forgotten team. Houston is not a slouch team. They're getting Nico Collins back. I don't know if that changes everything. Does that change the way he's going to be playing? So we'll call it 5. Let's not disrespect the team. We'll say 5. Those 5 teams right there. So Houston, Texans, and then now after that, 6 and 7, Chargers, Broncos, Colts, and it just falls. So those 5 teams, that's up there. 4 maybe, but man, we just can't let the Chiefs win. That's just what it comes out to. Can't do it. Can't let the Chiefs win.
We get to play them next week. I cannot wait for that.
Let's take care of the Colts first. Let's get out of the game unscathed and go from there. So before we get out of here, let's get back on this Colts game. One thing that you need to see, and we're gonna do this in pregame too. So actually, pregame we got to talk about it because I'm gonna be going far away, so I might not make it for pregame, but we'll talk about that depending on what time I get back. But that being said, one thing you need to see in this upcoming Colts game for these Bills to give you all the confidence in the world that they got this, you're not worried about it, but you need to see this executed in the game. This goes for the chat as well.
Oh, I love that
Brian
one.
Says, "Yo, give me a fast start."
I love that from Bob.
You going, Bob?
How about we clean up the penalties a little bit on Sunday? How about we reduce the amount of penalties that we're getting on a weekly basis here? A lot of pre-snap penalties, a lot of starting in first and 15, first and 20. I'd like to see that get cleaned up. It feels like that's been a recurring theme throughout the year. That's something I'd like to see kind of slowly get eradicated throughout the year. You don't want to be losing yardage in the playoffs the way the Bills have been doing throughout the year here. That's been a problem to me. Just the constant. They've overcome it so much to where it hasn't seemed like a big issue. They were talking about it nonstop in that Seahawks game where they're like, oh, it just doesn't matter. They're just backing it up. They're overcoming it every time. That's one thing I'd like to see cleaned up. But Bob, man, that's a great one. I have to agree with Bob there. How about coming out in the first quarter and not waiting until midway through the second or the third quarter to turn it on? Why don't you go out and punch them in the mouth instantly? Because I think it'll immediately eliminate the ability for them to devote themselves to the run game the way that they would want to if the Bills are able to get an early lead. I'd love to see a hot start. We really only have seen that this year against the Dolphins in the first matchup and the Jets. They haven't really had many blazing hot starts. They've had how many blazing hot second halves in a row? I think the only game they weren't insanely good in the second half was the Jets game. Ironically enough, that was the best they were in the first half. They had 20 points in that first half. I would love to see that, Bob. That's a great one. I'm going to steal Bob's there. That's one to me that we've been talking about it all year. You can get away with it with the Tennessee Titans. You can get away with it with the Cardinals. You can get away with it with the Dolphins. Chiefs next week. Niners after that. Lions after that. Rams after that. Not going to be as easy to overcome that. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that hot start on Sunday as well. It's a good one, Bob.
Hot start. I like the hot start. I mean, let's not forget, we would have had a hot start against the Dolphins.
That's true.
Keon Coleman not dropped that perfectly placed slant ball right on his ass, and he just dropped that thing, which turned into an interception. And there goes Josh's second interception. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. Here's what I need to see. And Bob O'Brien, I'm gonna hit Bob O'Brien because he alluded to it a little bit, but he mentioned 73 and 79, and what he's referring to is the O-line. He's referring to Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. Here's what I need to see, because they've got some decent linemen on this squad, right? Grover Stewart being a big time stud on that squad. Kwity Paye, I know Kwity Paye is a big time player on that squad. I think does he lead their team in sacks right now? Actually, it's DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner leads their team in sacks. Now, the thing that's great is that these guys don't get a lot of pressure, but they're stout against the run. They don't allow you to move the line, right? So I'm not going to go with the O-line today. I'm going with the defensive line because I didn't hear much from Ed Oliver. We got pushed around a lot. I don't care that we were giving up the run against the Dolphins, but we got pushed around way too much, right? I need something from Ed Oliver. I need something from Daquan Jones. I need something from Von Miller. I need my defensive front to get after old man Joe Flacco. He doesn't get rid of the ball as quickly as Tua Tagovailoa. So there's going to be no reason for it. We have the back end. Get after Joe Flacco. We can pressure the quarterback. We know what we do well. We've got to be better. We've got to get these guys in long third downs and get these guys off the field. They don't do well on third downs. Let's continue to keep that freaking thing going on right now. So, folks, to me, I need to see the trench defensively. Let's get after it, for crying out loud, man. We got pushed around too much. We didn't get after it either, but I need to see our defense get after it, because when that happens, then it becomes one-dimensional. Then they're going to be passing mode, and then we can just pin our ears back. Javon Solomon will probably get some more time on the field. And let's go, baby. Jordan Phillips might be playing this week. You never know. So, I mean, we got Quentin Jefferson that we just signed to. So let's shore up. Let's stop the run, but let's get after Joe Flacco and get these guys in long distance, right? Like second and 7, boom. 3rd and 8, let's do that. This short field, I'm not with that. That's for the birds, man. So that's what I need to see.
I like that one a lot. I mean, Flacco isn't going to be able to get out of the pocket. You get after his ass, it's over. So
bro, we got to, but we just got to. It starts with the trenches defensively. Control the trench. You control the trench. You control JT. You control JT. You make Joe Flacco throw 55 times. I'll take that all day. 55 times. No Pittman. Give it to me. Josh Downs is no slouch now. I did say Teron Johnson's gonna have a handful, but we play a lot of zone, so you're gonna have to make great decisions. And Bernard's gonna be back there, which I love. You got Benford back. Let's go, man. Let's roll. Let's get this thing popping. So that's what I need to see.
I love it. That's a good one. That's a good one. And we'll have more for you on the pregame upcoming this weekend. Sure. Looking forward to this one. This is the last 1 p.m. game the Bills will have, I think, until the Patriots game, I think, Rico. I think this is their last 1 p.m. game. Yeah, this is their last 1 p.m. game till around Christmas.
Hold on a second. Let me look at the schedule here. Let me look at the schedule. What's the schedule saying? Oh, shoot. Okay, so we got these boys.
December 22nd.
1 p.m. Then we got the 49ers at 9:20. Rams 5:25. Lions 5:25. Patriots 2.
Wow. So literally a month and a half straight of 4 p.m. football or later.
Oh, boy. All right, man. Here it is. Get it cracking, baby.
Crazy.
Get it cracking. That's what we got to do. The one last question for you. I wanted to ask you this question. I can remember. I had it, and it's now eluded me. And there it is. And that's what tells you.
It couldn't have been that important, as the saying goes.
It was gonna be a goodie, because I had this question I was gonna ask you earlier today. I was like, I'll just wait till the end. But you know what? It wasn't that important. Clearly, it wasn't that important. But that's it for us, folks. Anything else you want to add there, Body Bot?
That is all from me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday evening tonight. Hope you enjoy your Saturday. And I can't wait to see you on Sunday, because we got some Bills football to dive into. And I love this matchup. I'm looking forward to it. And, man, 8-2 sounds good. I can't wait to get there. On your way out the door, by the way, like button if you could. Subscribe button if you'd be so kind. We're getting close to 30K, by the way, over here. So help us get to that mark. We're narrowing in on that. And then BetUS, the promo code's YouTube150, 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next too.
Let's hit that again, because we are nearing 30,000. That's a goal of ours, to get to 30,000. So do us a favor, help us out. Tell everybody, smash that like, get the subscribers up. We want to hit that 30K, and that 30K, I feel like a big giveaway. What do you think?
Oh, I was just gonna say we'll do something. We'll do something.
It's gonna be a big giveaway, and I think it's gonna be beneficial for all. So, folks, let's get to 30K. Get the boys to 30K, man.
Come on, get us to 30K. That would be sweet. We'll do something nuts. We'll have like a big virtual party. Maybe we'll do I don't know. We'll have some guests on. We'll go crazy, but we got to get there first. So help us out. That would be great.
All right, folks. Well, that's our time, folks. It's the Rico Bot Show, ending it 2.5 hours. I mean, we're a little shorter than we normally are, but hey, we'll take it. So you guys have yourself a fantastic evening. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you back on Sunday.
See you then.
Colts. Let's get a dub. Until next time, it's your boy Rod. It's boy Rico. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Go Bills.
Peace.